Chapter 1355. Bei Yunj, are you unapologetic? Tang Boyan questioned with a dark face. At this moment, Nieyu was even more dumbfounded when he saw Bei Yunj appear in front of him. What the *CK was going on? Wasn't this person not free to attend their company gathering? The atmosphere was cold, but before anyone could react, they heard Yu Hanran say with a smile, Master Pei, come sit with me. Bei Yunj glanced at him lazily, but sat on the other side, not giving Yu Hanran any face. This was very big boss. However, Yu Hanran did not get angry. He only spoke to Bei Yunj with a cheeky smile. Until the next moment, everyone saw old Master Bo suddenly stand up and pick up the wine glass on the table. His face was dark, and even his hand that was holding the wine glass seemed to be trembling with anger. Seeing this, everyone gasped. Even the atmosphere became tense. They did not dare to imagine what kind of terrifying scene would happen next. Old Master Bo, I didn't manage my son well. When I go back, Tang Boyang had just suppressed the smile on his face and wanted to say something when old Master Bo interrupted him agitatedly. Your teacher, Yun? Old Master Bo was almost incoherent as he asked her nervously and softly. Instantly, the atmosphere was broken, and everyone was dumbfounded. Why would old Master Bo call this female student teacher? Bei Yunj did not have any impression of old Master Bo and could not help but raise his eyebrows. You are? Old Master Bo was extremely excited. Teacher, I was a member of the International Musicians Association 2 years ago. It was all thanks to you that I was able to enter the International Musicians Association successfully. Bei Yunj remembered. You don't have to thank me. I'm just doing it because you're talented. Old Master Bo's scoreback then was very favored by Bei Yunj. Although the other examiners did not allow it, they could not resist Bei Yunj's love and old Master Bo's ability to understand. Teacher, I'll toast you. I really didn't expect to meet you here. Ever since old Master Bo found out that Yun was the eldest daughter of the Qin family, he wanted to visit her, but he was afraid that it would be rude. That was why he was so excited today. But when Tang Boyang saw this scene, his face almost froze, and his brain was in a mess. Wasn't Bei Yunj a physics student at Yunhua University? How did she get involved with the International Musicians Association? Back then, Tang Boyang had also taken a fancy to Bo Shan's identity as a member of the Qiao Yin Alliance, so he wanted her to be with Washidu. After all, the Profound Note Alliance's connections were a huge asset. She didn't expect Bei Yunj to be a member of the International Musicians Association, and her status wasn't low either. Tang Boyang turned around and saw that Bo Jinxiao's eyes were red. It was obvious that she already knew Bei Yunj's identity. His face instantly darkened. Why didn't this idiot tell him about this earlier? As expected. Then, old Master Bo asked in confusion, Teacher, did Jinxiao offend you in some way? Bei Yunj suddenly raised her eyebrows with interest. What did she tell you? Old Master Bo immediately understood that there must be a reason behind this. His face darkened. Guangqiao, are you still not going to tell the truth? Bo Jinxiao immediately knelt down and looked at old Master Bo with a panicked expression. Grandpa Bo, I was careless. I accidentally scalded Miss Pei's dog. When everyone saw this, they all had different thoughts. Jinxiao, the Bo family has already done their best to raise you. And now you have the ability to earn your own living. Old Master Bo's words made Bo Jinxiao's face turn pale. Was he chasing her out of the Bo family? Chapter 1356. Grandpa Bo, Jinxiao really didn't do it on purpose. Bo Jinxiao crawled toward old Master Bo like crazy, crying and shaking her head desperately as she grabbed his sleeve. Old Master Bo frowned, but his heart had softened. He softened his tone. Jinxiao, I believe you have the ability to support yourself. When you go out, I'll give you a house in the city center. The house that old Master Bo gave her was worth at least 50 million yuan. However, Bo Jinxiao was unwilling to give up. If she stayed in the Bo family, she could have gotten more. And all of this was because of Bei Yunj. With others around, Bo Jinxiao did not want to embarrass herself, so she left early. However, this meal still did not feel good. Nyeyu could not help but be afraid of Bei Yunj. Unexpectedly, Tang Boyang insisted on getting close to him and said with a smile, "CEO Nye, you're really young and promising. Let me give you a toast." Nyeyu was speechless. This Tang Boyang would not stop until he was dead, right? "Mr. Tang, if you have anything to say, you can say it directly." Nyeyu gave a fake smile. "CEO Nye, you're joking. I just feel like I've known you for a long time, and we can be friends despite our age difference." A glint flashed past Tang Boyang's eyes, but he had an idea in his heart. Even if he did not do anything, he could let this arrogant *TCH of the Qin family offend Higgins's people. By then, she would not even know how she died. "I heard that recently, the technology product line of Higgins' Yunqing department has collided with the Qin corporations a lot." Tang Boyang smiled calmly. Could it be that there's a collaboration? With that said, everyone on the scene fell silent. Higgins Corporation's scientific research product line had always been the company's trump card. How could they let others have a share of this pie? However, the Qin Corporation had collided with the same products one after another. Had Higgins's trade secrets been leaked, their scalps turned numb. The Qin family was so daring. Weren't they courting death? Even Yu Hanran could not help but worry for Bei Yunj this time. However, when Nyeyu looked at Bei Yunj, he saw Bei Yunj glancing at Tang Boyan coldly. Then, she sneered and stood up lazily. Before Bei Yunj left, she turned around and asked Yu Hanran, "Do you have a cigarette? I'm going out for a walk." The entire arena was silent. Was this eldest young miss of the Qin family a lunatic, or was she really stupid? Wasn't he taking Higgins too lightly? Tang Boyang also looked on coldly, the corners of his mouth curled up in a mocking smile. After Yu Hanran had an epiphany, it was as if he was facing a formidable enemy. "Master Pei, don't harm me." If Washida knew that he was the one who gave him this ancestor's cigarette, he would be able to think about what color he should choose for his urn. Bei Yunj was just about to say something when she noticed that Mo was blinking her big, curious eyes, as if she would be led astray by her in the next moment. Hence, she could only turn around and leave. "I'm going out to buy candy." However, while Bei Yunj was waiting for the elevator, she suddenly heard an impatient voice. "I say, you old thing, why are you still so greedy when you're already half a foot into the ground? Hurry up and take your things and scram. CEO Nye won't see you." Bei Yunj had also heard the other person's voice in the physics department. It was Professor Sun Jiaping from the physics department. Professor Sun Jiaping was very respected in his early years, but in the past few years, he had held a lot of lectures and worked as a technical consultant for big companies. He was scoffed at by the academic circle and his own students, and was called the disgraceful scum of the academic circle. He actually had the nerve to stay at Yun University for such a blatant money grubber. Chapter 1357. She saw that Sun Jiaping was wearing clothes that had been washed too many times. He looked thin, and his hunched back became even hunchier. Sun Jiaping was not good at pleasing people. "Mr. Nye, please be magnanimous. Please give me a chance. Just let me give it to President Nye." Bei Yunj narrowed her eyes casually. The elevator was about to arrive. "Old man, I think you're tired of living. Get lost. You're a person who tarnished Yun University's reputation. How dare you work with Higgins?" The person who spoke was extremely arrogant. "I don't know where you got the news and how you got into Platinum Gold Royal Hotel, but I won't let my cousin talk to you. If you don't get lost, I'll beat you to death." "Mr. Nye," Sun Jiaping saw that Nye Chung was about to snatch his project book and tear it apart. His expression changed, and he immediately held it in his arms. "Old man, you're really courting death." Nye Chung sneered and stretched out his leg to kick Sun Jiaping. Sun Jiaping was originally a researcher. Now that his hair was white, he was powerless to fight back, and his face was pale. At this moment, Bei Yunj looked down, and her eyes could not be seen clearly. But when the elevator door opened, she suddenly turned around. Nye Chung was about to give Sun Jiaping another hard punch, but Bei Yunj suddenly raised her leg and kicked him in the stomach. Her eyes were cold and ruthless. Nie Chung howled in pain and fell back 1/2 meter. At this moment, he curled up in pain, and his face was instantly covered in sweat. Bei Yunj? Although Sun Jiaping was a professor in Bei Yunj's department, he had little contact with Bei Yunj. He only heard that before Bei Yunj entered Yun University, she had gotten into countless fights and caused trouble. You're a student of Yun University? Nie Cheng's ribs were still hurting. He felt that the kick made him feel uncomfortable. He gritted his teeth. Bitch! How dare you offend me? Believe it or not, even if you graduated from Yun University, no laboratory will dare to take you in. Bei Yunj glanced at Sun Jiaping. The rules of Higgins are that the project submitted by the academicians of Country A must be reviewed by the higher-ups. Don't you know? Rules? Nie Cheng said arrogantly. In Yunqing, I am Higgins's rule. What was an academician? Are there not many academicians who want to work with us? Bei Yunj sneered. You can't even control this bunch of trash. Nie was not Shan Yen and had little experience in management. *TCH. I think you're courting death. Nie Cheng flew into a rage out of humiliation, while Sun Jiaping subconsciously wanted to protect his student. Bei Yunj looked at Sun Jiaping, who was standing in front of her. Her eyes flickered, but the next moment, she said to Nie Cheng, who was strangling Sun Jiaping, "Let go." Nie Cheng sneered, but before he could mock him, the hand holding his arm dislocated it. He howled in pain.
Who are you?
How dare you treat me like this? Aren't you afraid that my cousin will make trouble for you? Bei Yunj stretched his muscles and walked up to him step by step. He said casually, I'll deal with Nie later. She raised her eyes and suddenly stepped on his abdomen, slowly grinding it. Nie Cheng trembled in pain. As for you, I have to use you to teach those idiots at Higgins how not to be stupid. As soon as she finished speaking, Bei Yunj suddenly kicked him in the ribs. Nie Cheng's whole body hit the wall with a muffled sound. Nie Cheng's 2 assistants felt a chill on their backs. They didn't know what to do, but soon they secretly ran to tell Nie. Chapter 1358. Bei Yunj, stop it. Sun Jiaping was dumbfounded. When he came back to his senses, he immediately wanted to stop Bei Yunj, who was grabbing Nie Cheng and punching him. She was really a newborn calf that was not afraid of a tiger. If President Nie found out about this, even the Qin family would not be able to protect Bei Yunj. Professor Sun, we're not in school. Just turn a blind eye to this. Bei Yunj had just kicked Nie Cheng's abdomen with her knee and said leisurely. Sun Jiaping did not dare to look at the scene. How did the Qin family and Director Lin raise their daughter to be so violent? Professor Sun, save me, please save me. This girl is a lunatic. Nie Cheng, whose bones were hurting, had already lost his courage. He desperately crawled towards Sun Jiaping. However, Bei Yunj stepped on him and said with a gentle smile, Let's play a game? If you say one more word, I'll break one of your bones. As soon as she finished speaking, the crisp sound of bones breaking was heard. What followed was Nie Cheng's screams. Bei Yunj heard Tang Boyang's exasperated voice again. She turned her head and saw Tang Boyang, Nie and the others appear. Cousin, save me. Nie Cheng, who was on the verge of death, suddenly said agitatedly. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and carry Mr. Nie to the hospital. Tang Boyang ordered the others. At this moment, Bei Yunj also stopped. However, after the hotel's doctor hurriedly checked Nie Cheng's injuries and sent him to the hospital, he heard Tang Boyang's cold laughter that was trembling with anger. You're really something. In just one night, you threw one person into the pool and almost drowned, and you beat the other person until his bones were fractured and sent to the hospital. Bei Yunj, do you really think that you can do whatever you want just because Shidu is protecting you? Tang Boyang wanted Bei Yunj to offend Tang Boyang, but he did not want to drag him down at this juncture. He was the one who brought Bei Yunj here. What would Nie think if she hurt her? Bei Yunj didn't even look at him. He just asked lightly, according to Higgins's rule, The projects of the academicians of the Academy of Engineering of Country A should be reviewed by the higher-ups. Niayu, have you forgotten? Niayu's expression was ugly. When he saw Sun Jiaping, who seemed to have been beaten up, he moved his lips but was unable to say anything. Just now, the assistants had exaggerated the story, but when he saw the injuries on Sun Jiaping's body, he knew the truth. Tang Boyang's eyes widened. He never thought that Bai Yunj would dare to teach Niayu a lesson. Even Yu Hanran couldn't help but silently send a message to Huashidu. This ancestor really knew how to cause trouble. If Huashidu still did not come, Bai Yunj might be beaten to death by Niayu, but in the next moment, Niayu walked up to Sun Jiaping and bowed solemnly. Professor Sun, it's my fault for not teaching my subordinates well. I've embarrassed Higgins. Everyone was in disbelief. What's going on? Isn't Boss Nia going to stand up for his brother? Why did he listen to Bai Yunj and even take the initiative to apologize? It's fine, it's fine. Boss Nia, I've finally met you. I'm here this time to show you my project book. Before Sun Jiaping could hand the project book to Niayu, Niayu saw the message Bai Yunj had sent him. His face turned pale. I'll give Shang Yan face this matter. Go back to Neely and follow him. I'll find someone else to manage Yun City. He knew very well that based on Bai Yunj's temper, if it weren't for Shang Yan, Bai Yunj would have cleaned up the sect long ago. Chapter 1359. Niayu forced a smile. Professor Sun, the company's project should leave it to someone else. Before he could finish his sentence, Bai Yunj said slowly, Mr. Nia, Professor Sun is here for you. Hearing this, Niayu froze and slowly took the project book from Sun Jiaping. Thank you for your hard work. Sun Jiaping couldn't help but feel excited. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Everyone else's eyes widened. Bai Yunj had sent Niayu's brother to the hospital. Wasn't Niayu going to pursue the matter? This was a slap to his face. You're welcome. Niayu smiled weakly and glanced at the girl beside him. Sun Jiaping shouldn't be thanking him. At this moment, Tang Boyang's expression also became complicated. He began to look at Bai Yunj seriously. It was obvious that Niayu was afraid of Bai Yunj. But how could the head of Higgins Group be afraid of a daughter of the Qin family? In the supermarket, Bai Yunj was just about to buy something when Sun Jiaping pulled her back. She saw Sun Jiaping walking in front of her with a can of milk, a bottle of water, some bread, biscuits, and sugar. Miss, the bill. After Sun Jiaping finished speaking, he took out the most common small plastic bag from his faded trouser pocket. There were some coins and paper money inside. Bai Yunj's eyes flickered. Professor, let me pay. I'm your teacher. How can you let your student pay? After Sun Jiaping finished speaking, he opened his money bag and took out a $20 bill. He counted some change and gave it to the salesperson. After thanking the salesperson, he handed the milk and bread to Bai Yunj. He even smiled and said, My granddaughter said this milk is delicious. She gets angry if I don't buy it for her. You kids will definitely like it. Bai Yunj hid the darkness in her eyes and took the snacks from Sun Jiaping. Thank you, Professor. Aren't you going to save some for your granddaughter? Sun Jiaping paused. Her? A smile appeared on his face, but his voice was hoarse and sour. She's sick. She can't eat these. Bai Yunj did not say anything. As she drank the strawberry-flavored milk quietly, she felt Sun Jiaping quickly wipe away his tears. She pretended that nothing had happened and began to persuade Bai Yunj to study hard. Professor, how much more do you need to pay for your granddaughter's medical bills? Bai Yunj asked after a moment of silence. Sun Jiaping obviously didn't expect Bai Yunj to ask such a question, but he still patted her on the shoulder and said, It's okay, don't worry. It's just that we still need some medical fees for the operation. As long as this project wins the bid, I can give Jingjing the best medical resources. He smiled again and said, After the surgery, if there's a chance, you can also meet each other. There will be a chance. Bai Yunj smiled. That girl is smart, but she's not likable. Although he said this, Bai Yunj could still see the love and affection in Sun Jiaping's eyes. After chatting for a while, Sun Jiaping insisted that Bai Yunj not send him to the bus stop. Bai Yunj watched him from afar as he covered the wound on his arm and disappeared into the distance. Nieyu's voice sounded in her ears again. "Boss, I'm sorry." Bai Yunj didn't even look at him. She just took the project book from him. She said casually, "Inform everyone that there will be a high-level meeting at Higgins tomorrow. Those who can't come don't have to come anymore." Chapter 1360. Hearing this, Nieyu felt a chill run down his spine. He knew that Higgins' group was going to be reshuffled. Yes. Bai Yunj suddenly asked, "What kind of free and rich positions are there in the group? Suitable for scientific researchers?" Nieyu quickly realized who Bai Yunj was talking about. Technical consultant? But, boss, our scientific researchers and technicians should be treated the best in the country. As long as they entered Higgins' group, they would not be short of money. Otherwise, why would there be so many people racking their brains to squeeze in? After all, even the interns in the technical department at Higgins Group had an annual salary of 3 million. Got it. Bai Yunj took the project book back and received a message from Xian Yuan of CI7 at night. "Xian Yuan, Sun Jiaping's information is here. However, there is a problem with his information. It involves the changes in the scientific research circled 20 years ago. Take a look. Attachment. Max." "Okay, thank you." Bai Yunj sat in front of the computer and opened the attachment sent by Xian Yuan. It recorded Sun Jiaping's personal experience and commendations in detail. Sun Jiaping's resume was similar to that of the other professors at Yun University. He had excellent grades since he was young and graduated with a doctorate at the age of 26. He majored in nuclear engineering and nuclear technology and had a double degree in physics. However, one thing that Bai Yunj did not expect was that Sun Jiaping's granddaughter, Jingjing, was not his biological granddaughter, but the daughter of Sun Jiaping's student, Xiang Ke. 20 years ago, Sun Jiaping took his student, Xiang Ke, to an island academic conference. A year later, he returned to Yuncheng but was inexplicably suppressed by the big shots in the circle. He could only take Xiang Ke to the most dangerous nuclear technology laboratory in the country at that time. However, in an experiment explosion, Xiang Ke died in order to save Sun Jiaping. Since then, Sun Jiaping had to raise his student, Xiang Ke's single daughter. Island Academic Conference. Bai Yunj frowned and continued to scroll down. She saw the only remaining information about the unprecedented Island Academic Conference that had gathered 30 top researchers in the industry 20 years ago. One of the names also came into Bai Yunj's eyes, J.H. Bai Yunj's eyes flickered. She didn't expect that this researcher, who was almost unheard of in the country, would actually attend that academic conference. However, there were very few records about that academic conference. Even CI7 only hastily wrote that the experimental research of that academic conference had led to the deaths of thousands of people on the island, and that J.H. had committed suicide to escape punishment. This was a bombshell 20 years ago, but CI7 had always held that J.H. committed suicide to escape punishment. However, the past was the past. More than half of the 30 researchers from 20 years ago had fallen. Now, only 6 of them were alive, and 2 were missing. They tacitly kept their mouths shut about this matter. Bai Yunj's eyes flashed with a dark light, but he had a feeling that Sun Jiaping might know a shocking secret from 20 years ago. She also didn't think that Senior J.H. had committed suicide to escape punishment. This was because in the manuscript she had obtained from Laboratory 191, J.H.'s experimental manuscript was completely different from the research direction of the island experiment 20 years ago. Another bunch of scum. Bai Yunj sneered, but there was no warmth in her eyes. "Master Du, your lady is pretty good. She has already found out about the Island Academic Conference. So you brought 2 wine glasses over, poured some red wine, and handed them to Hashidu." The man's hand that was holding the fountain pen paused. Why is she investigating this? Chapter 1361. Today, your girl met Sun Jiaping at Platinum Gold Royal Hotel and checked Sun Jiaping's information. Sun Jiaping is the only researcher who walked out of the island clean 20 years ago. Sun Jiaping brought his own students and objected to those people's research experiments. He was unwilling to be associated with them, which was why he ended up being isolated. As for the others, whose hands had not been stained with the blood of others. Seeing that Huishidu did not speak, Suyu continued. She doesn't know the truth of what happened back then. Based on the information from CI7, I'm afraid she will misunderstand you. She won't. The man interrupted him calmly. Suyu was speechless. He had long heard that Huishidu had fallen for a young girl this time, but he did not expect it to be to this extent. In order to investigate what happened back then, Huishidu had once taken over CI7 with him. However, too many people had died 20 years ago, and those who really knew the truth were afraid of getting into trouble. Therefore, it was extremely difficult to investigate this matter. Therefore, after Huishidu handed over CI7 to him, he had completely removed himself from it. Even Xian Yuan only knew that the real Yushio in charge of CI7 was Suyu. However, he did not expect that the Yushio back then was actually two different people. One was Suyu, and the other was Huishidu. Therefore, Huishidu knew Bei Yunji's identity in the bureau from the beginning. Are you sure? She's very interested in this information and is already preparing to continue investigating. Suyu took a deep breath and asked patiently. She has the real experimental manuscript in her hands. Huishidu's words made Suyu look up abruptly. What? I didn't give it to her. My union happened to get it. The man leaned back casually, but the corners of his lips curled up slightly. Suyu was speechless. Did they have to watch people show off their affection for each other when they were here for official business? The next day, the higher-ups of Higgins Cloud City had different thoughts. After all, this was the first time they were meeting the big boss. Everyone was uneasy. Of course, there were also those who were reckless. Where's Lu Shishuan? Nieyu asked. Everyone looked at each other and did not dare to make a sound. After a long time, the head of the administrative department said softly, I called to urge him. He's still on the way. Just because he had made a few contributions in the Cloud City division, he was more arrogant than the boss. However, Lu Shishuan had been unwilling to accept Nieyu as the person in charge for a long time. After all, Nieyu was only Shang Yan's secretary back then, and he was Shang Yan's senior back then. What right did Nieyu have to climb above him? Lu Shishuan was certain that this boss, who had never shown himself, would not do anything to him. After all, he was the backbone of the company. Not long after. When everyone arrived, they saw a beautiful girl walk in. His aura was impossible to ignore, but he was so young that it made people doubt their lives. Was he 20 years old? Many senior executives in their 40s and 50s no longer took Bei Yunji seriously. Is everyone here? Bei Yunji naturally sat at the head of the table and placed his laptop on the table. His words were light, but they inexplicably made people feel pressured. Director Dong. Nieyu gestured for her to report. The Minister of Administration immediately sat up straight and said, of the 17 executives, only Lu Shishuan hasn't arrived yet. He said he's stuck in traffic. After saying this, the atmosphere at the scene was so tense that even a pin drop could be heard. They inexplicably felt that the big boss was scary suddenly. Bei Yunji snorted unknowingly and started to operate the keyboard carelessly. Everyone had different thoughts and did not know what the boss wanted to do. Chapter 1362. All right, let's start the meeting. Bei Yunji's slender and good-looking fingers played with the black gold magnetic card in her hand. This was the symbol of the person in charge of Higgins Group. As long as Bei Yunji swiped this card in the industrial area under Higgins, the higher-ups in the area would receive the news of their boss's arrival and come out to welcome her. However, when everyone heard this, they looked at each other and doubts arose in their hearts. Did the boss just pass by like that? She didn't intend to pursue Lu Shishuan? Could it be that this rumored boss was just a paper tiger? After all, Nieyu was still around and no one dared to express their thoughts. However, they felt that the boss was indeed too inexperienced to even touch Lu Shishuan. If it weren't for Shang Yan, Higgins Group would have been finished in the hands of this boss. Everyone increasingly felt that this boss was just a pampered young lady. How could she have the ability to manage a group? However, at this time, Lu Shixuan, who was late downstairs, was still greeting people. Xiao Qian, I heard from Boss Huang that you can drink quite a lot last time. Let's go for a drink after work? Xiao Qian said flatteringly. Sure, as long as Boss Lu has time. But Boss Nia and the others are in a meeting. Why are you still here? Sai, isn't there a traffic jam? Lu Shixuan smiled, but his face could not hide his pride. He did not think that the boss, who had never shown up, could do anything to him. If she really had some ability, why would she leave the company's affairs to Shang Yan? Lu Shixuan sneered, but when he was in front of the gate on the first floor and prepared for facial recognition, unexpectedly, not only was the identification system unable to detect his identity, but it even sounded a mechanical female voice. There is no information about your identity in the system at the moment. Please leave quickly. Lu Shixuan's expression changed. He did not believe it and checked a few more times. However, at this time, the gate suddenly emitted an alarm red ray and called the security guard. After the security guard hurried over and saw Lu Shixuan, who was blocked outside the gate, his eyes widened. Boss Lu, why are you blocked outside? Cut the crap and let me in. What kind of broken machine is this? Why is it blocking me outside? Lu Shixuan was furious and began to curse on the spot. But just as the security guard was about to let them in, he suddenly remembered Higgins' strict rules. The security guard asked timidly, Director Lu, do you want to try again? Higgins has a rule that he can't just let anyone go. Did you eat a bear's heart or a leopard's guts? You're just a little security guard. How dare you stop me outside? Lu Shixuan instantly flipped out, but the security guard refused to let him in, so Lu Shixuan could only call someone. In the high-level meeting, suddenly, someone's phone vibrated. Minister Dong gulped. Boss, it's a call from President Liu. Yes, put it on speaker. Bei Yunj signaled for the higher-ups to stop the presentation. At this time, everyone quietly heard Lu Shixuan's roar. Dong Qi, hurry up and ask that useless security guard downstairs to let me in. This broken machine can't even detect my identity. Minister Dong's expression changed slightly. He subconsciously looked at Bei Yunj, who was sitting at the head of the table. Very good. Looks like there's still someone with a brain in the company. Bei Yunja's red lips curled up, and she leaned back casually. However, everyone else's scalp suddenly went numb. So, just now, the boss had deleted Lu Shixuan's information from the computer? Only Nia Yu reacted quickly. Bei Yunj did not know how to enter the company's system. Chapter 1363. Director Dong, get someone to throw out all his things. The rest of you, continue reporting. After Bei Yunj finished speaking, she put a tick on the name list in her hand. At this moment, the rest of the people saw that Bei Yunj still had a list in her hand and felt a chill down their spines. She wasn't here to play? Yes. Director Dong took a deep breath and was glad that she didn't act recklessly like Lu Shixuan. Then, she immediately went downstairs to deal with Lu Shixuan. Downstairs. Dong Qi, what are you doing? Are you rebelling? Lu Shixuan saw the two people behind Dong Qi carrying two big boxes of things from his office and couldn't help but widen his eyes in disbelief. President Liu, you should be happy that the boss gave you a break. Director Dong's beautiful nails brushed her hair away from her shoulders. Her words were watertight, and she was a living example of a smiling tiger. You. How dare you? Did Nia say this? Lu Shixuan asked with a dark expression. Lu Shixuan, you even dared to patronize the boss's meeting. You're not a hero who started the dynasty, and yet you're putting on airs. Who can tolerate you? Director Dong pointed casually. Throw out all the things. After that, Director Dong straightened her back and walked upstairs in her high heels. Lu Shixuan, who was shouting behind her, couldn't wait to strangle that little B***tch Dong Qi to death. Director Dong returned to the meeting room valiantly and proudly. She couldn't say that she was comfortable. Lu Shishuan, that old pervert, couldn't wait to stick his eyes on her body every day and even touched her. If Niayu wasn't afraid of him, she wouldn't have swallowed her anger. Director Dong returned in a good mood, but then she heard the big boss speak. Qi Ming, Liang Linfeng, Du Hunan. These 8 senior directors can go back and rest first. Bei Yunj pointed at the 8 senior directors. The 8 of them looked at each other, and then one of them bravely said, "Boss, we've all signed the contract. Isn't it unreasonable for you to fire us for no reason?" "That's right. Miss, you're still a young lady. Do you really think we're nothing?" Another person sneered. Then, the rest of the senior directors who had been named couldn't help but laugh. However, Bei Yunj casually tossed the things on the table and twirled the fountain pen. She chuckled softly and asked casually, "As a dish? Who do you think you are?" "You." The other people's faces flushed red. They were so humiliated that they couldn't speak. However, just as someone was about to speak, Bei Yunj's cold voice rang out unhurriedly. "Since you don't want to leave the company, why don't the 8 senior executives explain to me the company's annual figures for the first half of the year?" Hearing this, the expressions of the 8 people changed. Then, they heard Bei Yunj recite the wrong project data one after another. She glanced at them with a cold gaze that was not a smile, embezzling public funds and signing up for 2 experimental projects with fake data. "Are you looking for death?" "Finish speaking." Bei Yunj threw all the information in his hands onto the pale faces of the senior officials. In an instant, the conference table was filled with papers. However, all the high-level officials present were so frightened by Bei Yunj that they trembled. There was only one thought in their minds. The boss was too scary. Boss. Their backs were soaked with sweat. They suddenly realized that this person who had never shown up was the real boss. Bei Yunj said casually, "I'll give you 3 days to either solve the problem or solve yourselves." Chapter 1364. The others felt a chill run up their spines from the soles of their feet to the top of their heads. The chill soaked their entire bodies, and their foreheads were covered in sweat. Bei Yunj meant that if they couldn't give her an explanation, she would send them to the police station and jail them for life. "Boss, I don't know what's going on either." Someone wanted to play dumb. However, some people knew that they couldn't hide it any longer and immediately begged for mercy. "Boss, I was just confused." "That's right. Boss, please let us go. We will definitely turn over a new leaf and work for you." The higher-ups were so anxious that they almost kowtowed to her and admitted their mistakes. However, Bei Yunj had always been merciless. "Niayu." Bei Yunj didn't even look up as she let Niayu deal with them. After the noisy begging for mercy gradually faded away, the remaining higher-ups felt their hair stand on end when they saw Bei Yunj's calm but overly beautiful face. They didn't know how Bei Yunj found out that there was a problem with the data, including the 2 fake data projects. Even the insiders probably didn't know about the information reported just now, right? How did Bei Yunj see through it at a glance? It was all wrong. If Niayu had half of this person's skills, he wouldn't have let these people ride on his head. Bei Yunj was halfway through processing when she suddenly received a message from Shang Yan. She opened it and took a look. "Niayu's ability is limited. I'm sorry to have caused you a lot of trouble. I heard that Mr. Xue Jiangxian is working in the Yun City department of the corporation. Xue Jiangxian might be a good candidate for you, but I heard that he's preparing to leave. You can ask him about the situation." Bei Yunj's eyes flashed. She put her phone on the table, and her gaze landed on one of the older men. "Why does old Xue want to leave?" Bei Yunj asked. Xue Jiangxian probably didn't expect to attract this person's attention. After a while, he smiled and said, "I'm old. I'm afraid I can't help much." He changed the topic and said, "But if you need me, I'm willing to do my best for you." Xue Jiangxian had interviewed Higgins because of Higgins's resurgence of fame. How could he have known that the moment he started working, the company would be filled with monsters? Therefore, Xue Jiangxian became increasingly disappointed and decided to resign. However, unexpectedly, at this moment, Bei Yunj suddenly appeared and dealt with these rotten bugs in the company with a single meeting. This made Xue Jiangxian suddenly want to stay. Old Shui, I do need you. Pei Yunji's eyes curved, and she said bluntly. Shui Jiangxian had left a deep impression on her during the meeting just now. Compared to the others, Shui Jiangxian had a lot of experience. He looked at the project from many angles and was strict. Shui Jiangxian was so excited that he stood up and bowed to Bei Yunji. Young miss, I'm willing to die 1,000 times. All right, everyone, it's a pleasure to meet all of you. From today onwards, Elder Shui will temporarily be in charge of the company. Before Nieyu returns to Neely, remember to hand over the work to Elder Shui. Nieyu quickly replied, yes. The others had no choice but to put on a fake smile. We are also very happy. Yes, we are too happy, haha. Bei Yunji glanced at the few of them who were acting clumsily and raised her eyebrows lazily. Is that so? How touching. Then we'll see it more often in the future. Everyone's smiles froze. The boss's suffocating sense of humor in the president's office. Young miss, this is Sun Jiaping's contract. Nieyu handed it to her. Chapter 1365. Bei Yunji glanced at him. Okay. Nieyu couldn't help but ask, Miss, aren't you going to use Professor Sun Jiaping's experimental project? Bei Yunji only glanced at him, making Nieyu feel inexplicably guilty. It's not suitable. It was not that Sun Jiaping's project was not good, but that Higgins was an internationally renowned technology group. His opponents were all top researchers from all over the world. If it were any other professor from Yun University, it would probably be difficult for them to stand out. Shui Jiangxian also glanced at Bei Yunji. At this moment, he also understood why Higgins could return to glory in her hands. Although the person in front of him was young, she had a deep heart. After leaving the company, Bei Yunji went downstairs and sent a message to Huishidu. She could even see Shui Jiangxian getting someone to deal with Lu Shixuan, who was causing trouble. Bei Yunji watched with interest, but after a while, a car stopped in front of her. What are you looking at? Hearing the man's clear voice, Bei Yunji immediately got into the car and answered casually. Watching the show. Hearing this, Huishidu and Xingsu, who was in front, looked out and saw a group of people fighting outside. Xingsu, Miss Pei's hobby was still as fresh and unique as ever. Huishidu looked at Bei Yunji excitedly leaning against the window. His eyes darkened as he remembered old Madame Hu's deliberate warning a few days ago. The Qin family's development had been booming over the past few years, and there were many people who wanted a business marriage. When Bei Yunji first entered Yun University, she was already famous in the industry. It was said that the juniors of the Bai family and the Bo family had been brought back from the top overseas schools. They wanted to get along with Bei Yunji and get close to her. The man slowly retracted his gaze and suddenly said lazily, Is it nice? Yes. Are you going to Jiangxinju later? Or do you want to try the newly opened Black Silver Tower restaurant in the south of the city? Jiangxinju. Do you want to go back to school after dinner, or do you want to go home? I want to go back. Bei Yunji came back to her senses and paused. She looked through the car window and saw the man's elegant side profile. Bei Yunji's eyelids twitched. She hurriedly glanced at the man who had a lazy posture, but could make her heart race. It was as if she was afraid of being bewitched. At this moment, the people who used to be so bold that they could overturn the heavens were now inexplicably afraid. It was as if he was afraid that he would enter the wolf's den and be eaten alive. Brat! The man suddenly shouted. His slender and well-defined hand gently held her again, and he even pinched her intentionally. He looked at her casually, with his peach blossom eyes. Why are you so far away from your brother? Bei Yunji had never been able to resist this kind of seduction behind people's backs. Not long after, Bei Yunji moved to Huishidu's side. Then, a low and hoarse chuckle sounded in her ears. Bei Yunji looked up, and their eyes met. The man's eyes were filled with a clear smile. His gaze was so direct that she couldn't take it anymore. However, when Bei Yunji turned her head away unnaturally, he slowly reached out and touched her head. The warmth of his palm brushed past her soft ears. Huishidu didn't give Bei Yunji any face, but he smiled seductively. Yun Yun, be brave. Didn't you look at me as if you wanted to eat me up in the past? Are you afraid now? Not only was the man blowing air into her ear, he was also saying indecent words, but he could easily make her body go soft. Chapter 1366. Bae Yunja's ears, which had been touched intentionally or unintentionally, gradually heated up. Was it that obvious? After getting out of the car, Huashida brought him to the dining room and did not mention what had happened just now. During this dinner, Bae Yunj was distracted and her mind was filled with images that she should not be thinking about. Bae Yunj was speechless. It was not that she was thinking too much, but Huashida exuded a flirtatious aura from head to toe. It's still early before the school curfew. Were you going to play? Huashida suddenly spoke, making Bae Yunj relax unconsciously. However, the way she looked at the man was complicated, as if her thoughts had been guessed correctly. She seemed to be holding her breath, and her emotions were indescribable. She felt like cursing. However, the man smirked. He clearly knew the little girl's personality, but at this moment, he pretended not to know the desire to win burning in Bae Yunja's heart. This move of retreating in order to advance indeed made Bae Yunj restless. He picked up Bae Yunja's favorite dishes and said casually, "It's okay. I didn't expect you to be like an adult." Bae Yunj was speechless. She was humiliated. This meal didn't taste good. However, after going downstairs, Bae Yunj had a lot of fun since the man was finally human. She was thinking about when to move over. But sometimes, the development of things was always unexpected. Chinyu, who had just finished filming a promotional video, was wearing a mask and a hat. He walked in front impatiently with his long legs. The manager behind him was very tired from chasing after him. "Brother Yu, there's no need to walk so fast, right? What else can I do? Listen to your nonsense?" Chinyu glanced at him. Although he was dressed tightly, his perfect figure with wide shoulders and narrow waist was still very attractive on the road. The manager was speechless. Why didn't this person understand advice? He was just reminding Chinyu out of kindness. He said that his brother might have special thoughts about his biological sister, but Chinyu started to show a cold expression the moment he heard that. The manager endured it. "Brother Yu, don't you think that your brother is too concerned about your sister? Besides, Chinyu's sister's appearance could completely beat all the popular actresses in the industry." What was Chinyu thinking? Why did he think that his brother was a saint? Chinyu sneered. His slender and good-looking fingers hooked the mask off, revealing his arrogant and handsome face. "My brother is concerned about me. Do you understand? Besides, Shido hasn't blossomed in 800 years. What else can he produce?" Before Chinyu could finish speaking, he suddenly saw two people walking out of the mall opposite. They looked very familiar. It was his biological sister and brother, whom he missed dearly. Before Chinyu could go up and greet her, he saw Bae Yunj holding a teddy bear that she had grabbed from the claw machine. Her eyes seemed to be shining brightly, and she was exceptionally intimate with the man beside her. The night breeze blew by, and she turned her body sideways. The man was standing behind her with his elegant eyes lowered, but his hands were patiently braiding the girl's hair. The scene was very pleasing to the eye. However, Chinyu held his breath and felt that something was wrong. Until the next moment, he saw Bae Yunj hooking her arm around the man's shoulder from behind, with a hint of coquettishness that was obviously tormenting him. However, the man only turned around and scratched the girl's chin as if to comfort her. Then, he opened the car door for Bae Yunj with a smile. At this moment, Chinyu was almost certain. His brother was a dog. After holding it in for a long time, Chinyu could only say slowly, F***CK, he had been deceived. Chapter 1367. At this moment, the moment Chinyu closed his eyes, Huashida's beastly actions back then appeared crazily in his mind. He had hinted at him to be careful of Ge-er's puppy love. Intentionally or unintentionally, he had encouraged him to tell the old master not to let Bae Yunj get too close to the young talents in the industry. He had even King told him that Yu Hanran had ulterior motives towards his sister. In the end, he had been very careful with outsiders, but he had never thought that the iron tree that had not bloomed for 10,000 years would steal his little cabbage. At the thought of his stupid actions, Chinyu's blood was in a mess and his throat was stuffy. Back then, he had even begged Twishittu to take care of his and send her to his house. But what about this inhumane beast? Had just entered university, and these two were already so clingy. As a man, he didn't believe that they hadn't been plotting for a long time. Be brother you? Seeing that Chinyu was so angry that he was about to vomit blood, the manager changed from gloating to uneasy.
Suddenly,
Chinyu said coldly, "I'm going to kill this ****." The manager was speechless. The brothers in the past had turned against each other. This was truly a drama of life. The manager tugged at Chinyu, telling him to calm down. After all, even if they couldn't be brothers, they could still be brothers-in-law. However, this sentence completely ignited Chinyu's anger. He was just short of rushing home to get a knife. After Bae-yunj returned to school, she lay on the bed in the dormitory for a while before coming down to drink some water. She sat on the chair and suddenly said, "Su Xianing, I'm going out to stay this weekend." Su Xianing was wearing a mask and watching the news broadcast. She was shocked by her words. "Why you're going out to stay too?" There were many people who moved out of Yun University, but it was surprising that the other party was Bae-yunj. Su Xianing regained her senses. "But there's an exchange meeting this weekend. I heard that it's a big shot in the industry from Continent K. I'm not free." Bae-yunj looked casual and indifferent as she played with her phone. However, she was actually thinking about whether she should give her brother a surprise when she moved out. "All right, I heard that Wang Guanshan's sister is coming too. The last time you went to the computer science class, you made him lose so much face. It's better to hide." Su Xianing had never interacted with Wang Guanshan, but she had heard that this person was very vengeful in the computer science department. Who knew when he would come to cause trouble for Bae-yunj? Bae-yunj's eyelids twitched. After a while, she said,
"Yes. However,
even if Bae-yunj didn't look for trouble, trouble would come knocking on her door. In the lecture hall, as soon as Bae-yunj arrived, she heard the discussions around her and was quickly pulled aside by Su Xianing. "Wang Guanshan is here. Don't go against him today. I heard that even the principal is nice to him. It seems to be because of his sister." Su Xianing secretly scolded Wang Guanshan for being so pretentious. He actually dared to come to their department for class. Yes. Bae-yunj's indifferent compliance made Su Xianing feel relieved. She did not want Bae-yunj to be expelled from school because she had offended Wang Guanshan. After all, Wang Guanshan had a backer. Nothing would happen to him. However, just as Bae-yunj was about to walk to the back seat, Wang Guanshan stretched out one leg and stopped her. "Bae-yunj, from now on I'm your classmate. Aren't you going to say hello to me?" He deliberately provoked Bae-yunj. However, Su Xianing's face darkened. "Zhou Guanshan, are you here for class?" "Bitch, what does this have to do with you? Mind your own business." Wang Guanshan sneered. Chapter 1368.
Suddenly,
Bae-yunj glanced at the foot in front of her. "You don't want your leg anymore?" As soon as she finished speaking, Wang Guanshan felt an inexplicable chill and subconsciously shrank back. He flew into a rage out of humiliation. "Bae-yunj, you," but soon, the bell rang and Bae-yunj went to the back row. This class was taught by Sun Jiaping. Sun Jiaping taught seriously. Even if the students had all kinds of tricky and strange questions, he could still answer them. As for those students who looked down on him, although they were not convinced, they could only suppress their anger. After class, Sun Jiaping, who was sitting at the podium drinking tea and reading, suddenly received a call and immediately went outside. Everyone saw that Sun Jiaping was agitated and began to talk about it. Could it be that he's calling some boss again? I'm convinced. Why does he love money so much? The students were annoyed. They also didn't understand why Yun University allowed such a professor to teach. Otherwise, is Sun Aitzai's reputation for nothing? Someone mocked. At the same time, Sun Jiaping, who was outside, looked disappointed and said in a stiff tone, "Is that so? It's a pity that I can't cooperate with your company." He originally wanted to rely on this money to save Jingjing. "Actually, our company has drafted a contract. We hope that Professor Sun can be our company's technical consultant. I wonder if you're willing?" Xue Jiangxian asked with a smile. "Really, really?" Sun Jiaping's eyes lit up again, and he said incoherently, "I'm willing." The male student who came back to get water immediately ran back to the classroom when he heard Sun Jiaping's words. "Hey, did you know? Sun Aizai has accepted the technical consultant position of a lousy company." The boy laughed and said, "Guanchen, I heard that your family is very rich. Why don't you help Professor Sun? Maybe if he gets excited, you can get full marks even if you don't come to class in the future." "How can it be so easy to be my family's dog?" Wang Guanchen sneered, his tone full of sarcasm and arrogance. This made many male students who were happy to be friends with Wang Guanchen burst into laughter, as if they could trample on a professor that they couldn't reach. "Is that enough? How much money Professor Sun wants to earn is his business." One of the girls frowned. Following that, a girl also chimed in, "That's right. Why should a researcher be poor? It's just to prove that he's honest and studious." However, upon hearing this, some of the boys became angry out of humiliation. They insulted her without thinking. "Huang Minmin, don't tell me you're interested in such an old man?" After saying this caused the other boys to laugh at him. The girls' faces turned red, but before they could say anything, they suddenly heard a shocking sound. It was the sound of the back of a book being slammed on the table. Then, before the boy could scold her, he heard a familiar and impatient voice. "Are you done yet?" In an instant, when the boys sensed the coldness emanating from Bai Yunj, they all shut their mouths. Even Wang Guanchen did not expect the boys from the physics department to be so afraid of Bai Yunj. Bai Yunj flipped through the book slowly and glanced at those people casually. He sneered, "I don't think anyone else wants to be a dog." The other boys were so humiliated that their faces turned red, but they also knew that they could not afford to offend Bai Yunj. After the class, Wang Guanchen glanced coldly at these people who were trying to curry favor with him. Bai Yunj is so scary. Chapter 1369. The others remained silent. Bai Yunj had been promoted from Hengda, and many students from Yun University had been promoted from Hengda as well. Even the sophomores and juniors knew that Bai Yunj High School had sent someone to the hospital. They even prayed crazily on the eve of the college entrance examination that this big Buddha could go to Beichuan University and not come to a small temple like Yun University. So, who the hell wasn't afraid of Bai Yunj? What's the use of having you? A bunch of useless people. Wang Guanchen gritted his teeth at the thought of how people were flattering him in class, but Bai Yunj's words scared this group of people out of their wits. "Brother Chen, of course you're not afraid of Bai Yunj. Your family background is good, and you came from Continent K. But we don't dare to offend her." The boy beside him explained. "Yes, Bai Yunj is a lunatic. No one dares to provoke her. Besides, her grades are good. If anything happens to her, Yun University won't bear to expel her." Wang Guanchen laughed coldly. "Can't bear to expel her? Idiots, just watch carefully." His sharp eyes swept over them, looking a little ferocious. "When my sister, Wang Huiying, comes, as long as Bai Yunj offends her, even if my sister wants to expel Bai Yunj, Yun University won't even dare to fart." With that said, Wang Guanchen left, leaving the boys looking at each other. Wang Huiying? That famous genius from Continent K? Friday afternoon. After Bai Yunj sent a message to Huashidu, she carried her bag and went to the apartment Huashidu had prepared. After opening the door with her key, she found that the furniture inside was spotless, as if someone came to disturb her every day. Bai Yunj raised her eyebrows, as if she had thought of something. The smile on her lips gradually turned into an interested one. Then, she went into the bathroom to take a shower. Huashidu, who had just received the news that Bai Yunj was going to the apartment today, had already driven to the apartment. However, Huashidu did not expect Bai Yunj to already be upstairs. What was even more unexpected was Chinyu seemed to have arrived at the apartment before him. Chinyu had no intention of hiding his identity at all. He was wearing a black t-shirt, short-sleeved shirt, and trousers as he leaned against the wall and smoked. The English tattoo on his forearm was exposed, and his eyes were noble and superior. His loose black hair half covered his emotions. Hwashidu raised his pale-colored eyes and met Chinyu's eyes. The man glanced at him without leaving a trace. He knew that there must be a demon behind Chinyu's sudden arrival, but he was still calm. "Looking for me?" Chinyu cut off the cigarette without saying anything and snorted coldly. Before anyone could react, he strode forward to Hwashidu and punched the man in the face. "Hwashidu, are you King human?" Hwashidu was in the wrong and did not intend to fight back. However, Chinyu's merciless strength made him turn his head away slightly pathetically. The man licked his cheek and sucked in a breath of cold air. He smelled the blood in his mouth and chuckled softly. He wiped the blood on his lips with his finger. "You know, Chinyu, you want a few more punches? I'll let you hit me as much as you want today, but don't hit my face," Hwashidu said calmly. Chinyu gave a fake smile.
Why?
Hwashidu slowly took off his suit jacket and threw it to the stunned Singsu. It's hard to explain if the little girl sees it. Chinyu wanted to kill someone. *CK at this moment. Bei Yunj, who had just taken a shower upstairs, was wearing a nightgown and sitting on Hwashidu's table reading. She had no idea what was happening downstairs. Chapter 1370. Bei Yunj knew that Hwashidu would be waiting for her in the study, so after flipping through the book, she took a bottle of nail polish and sat by the desk to apply it in boredom. This nail polish was not bought by Bei Yunj. It was snatched by Bei Yunj after Su Xianing poked holes in the potato chip bags on Bei Yunj's table one by one. Su Xianing was so angry that she gritted her teeth for a week. At the same time, the atmosphere downstairs did not ease either. "When did you have such thoughts about my sister?" Chinyu took a deep breath. Hwashidu narrowed his pale-colored pupils, his eyes dark and unreadable. He said carelessly, "I'm not sure." Back then, Ji Yiqing had deliberately provoked him only to let him see his heart clearly. As for when he had feelings for Bei Yunj, even he himself was not sure. Hearing this, Chinyu's urge to pull Hwashidu into another fight grew stronger. Was there anyone more *King beast than him? How could he abduct his brother's sister? Seeing that Chinyu was so angry that he wanted to kill someone, the man was still noble and refined. The corners of his upturned eyes were inexplicably charming, and his low and magnetic voice was a little frivolous. "Brother, didn't you tell me before that you wanted to be my family? We've known each other for so many years. Would Yunyun be more at ease if she were to hand it over to an outsider than to me?" "This shameless person." Chinyu smirked. "President Hua, you also know that I've known you for so many years? Anyone who remembered their brotherhood would not fool around with his brother's sister behind his back. Who started it between you and Chinyu asked again. Hwashidu said calmly, "Me." Chinyu could not help it. "Hwashidu, if you like a female student, who can you find?" At this point, Chinyu's scalp turned numb. He really could not imagine how Hwashidu, who was cold and indifferent, would suddenly develop such a relationship with his or at the thought that Hwashidu might become his brother-in-law, Chinyu shivered and immediately asked, "When can the two of you break up?" Hwashidu slowly looked up, but there was no warmth in his eyes. There was an unfathomable coldness that made people afraid. A moment later, hearing him say slowly, "Chinyu, I'm sorry for not telling you in advance. I apologize to you, but I'm not that much of a beast, and I don't have the intention to play around. I understand that you can't accept it right now." The man's tone was gentle. "But for the sake of our family in the future, it's better to endure it." Chinyu, *CK. How could Hwashidu, who should be hacked into pieces, be so shameless? "These few punches of yours, you really don't care about brotherhood." The man licked his numb cheeks and laughed, feeling that several parts of his body were throbbing with pain. However, Huashidu felt that it was quite good to be discovered by Chinyu this time. It saved her the trouble of building Chinyu's thoughts. From the moment you seduced my sister, our brotherhood ceased to exist. Chinyu took out a cigarette from the cigarette box on the table. After a while, he suddenly remembered something. He slowly and stiffly turned to look at Huashidu. Did you and Goer do it? Which one? Chinyu was speechless. How many rooms do you sleep in tonight? After saying this, the atmosphere froze for a moment. After that, Huashidu asked with a faint smile. Chinyu, she's only in her first year of university. Do you think I can do it? Chapter 1371. Chinyu also heaved a sigh of relief, but said, Then did you? You. The man suddenly interrupted him and continued slowly, You'll have one sooner or later. Chinyu's face twisted uncontrollably. Listen, did this sound like something a human would say? After calming down. After Chinyu finished smoking, he planned to go upstairs to the study with Huashidu to talk. After all, if Huashidu's face was really disfigured by him, Goa might still be angry with him at this thought. Chinyu's emotions became even more complicated. We've been brothers for so many years. I've really met the wrong person. Huashidu did not care what Chinyu was mumbling behind him. However, when he casually opened the study door and saw the scene inside, he froze. Unknowingly, someone had suddenly appeared in the study. Bei Yunj was sitting lazily in his usual chair. Her nightgown was loose and revealing her shoulders, and one could vaguely see the black straps inside. A pair of fair and slender legs were resting lazily by the table, forming a strong contrast with the wine-red nail polish she had just applied, causing a strong fluctuation in his senses. The man's pale-colored eyes deepened, accumulating a layer of half-hidden gloom. After Bei Yunj heard the commotion, she turned around and met the man's eyes. However, with this turn of her head, the nightgown on her shoulders slid even wider. The man's eyes were dark as he tried his best to suppress the bad nature in the man's bones and the possessiveness that was surging within him. The little girl casually took a clean nightgown, but did not realize that this nightgown was too big for a man's usual wear. What? Why did he stop in front? Before Chinyu could ask, he was about to look up when Huashidu suddenly closed the door. At this moment, the door was tightly shut. Bei Yunj, who was about to stand up inside, was speechless. What was going on? Outside the door, Chinyu said in the awkward silence, Are you guarding against me like a thief?
Haha.
Didn't he know who the thief was? Huashidu restrained the darkness in his eyes and spoke carelessly, but his voice was unusually low and hoarse. Do you want to pick some wine to bring back? Really? Chinyu asked instinctively. The wine in the Hua family's wine cellar was priceless. One bottle could be exchanged for a suite in the center of Yun City. Chinyu regained his senses very quickly and chuckled. Master Du, are you trying to bribe me with a few bottles of wine? However, the man licked his lips and looked up at Chinyu with a smile. I don't drink much. If you like it, I'll get Sing Su to move it over for you next time. Old Master Hua loved wine when he was alive, so the Hua family had collected a lot of good wine. After Old Master Hua passed away, Huashidu continued to work with the winery. At this moment, when Chinyu heard this, he could not help but be tempted. Aren't you being too generous? Chinyu's tone softened a lot, and he followed Huashidu downstairs silently. But not long after, Bei Yunj, who was in the study, suddenly recalled the scene from just now. She thought she saw a wound on the man's lips. Bei Yunj's eyes darkened. She quickly got up and went downstairs. Chinyu, who was talking, was halfway through when he suddenly heard a voice coming from the stairs. I'm looking for you today. Don't tell me you and Go. Huashidu, what happened to your face? At this moment, the two men sitting on the sofa turned around and saw Bei Yunj walking over with cold eyes. Jigo, Chinyu was stunned. Why are you here? Chapter 1372. However, there was indeed no need to discuss this topic too much. Looking at Bei Yunj's ill-fitting nightgown, the answer was already clear. Bei Yunj only pursed her red lips and walked past Chinyu, arriving in front of Huishidu. She reached out and touched the wound at the corner of the man's lips, her eyebrows still furrowed. However, the man grabbed her hand and kissed it comfortingly. "It's okay, Yunyan." "What's okay?" A cold laugh escaped Bei Yunj's throat. Before the man could react, Bei Yunj had already pulled the man over. Then, she unbuttoned the man's white shirt. There were bruises all over his body, making Bei Yunj's eyes turn cold. However, Huishidu looked like he was at the mercy of others from the beginning to the end. Chinyu had lived for so many years, but this was the first time he saw Huishidu indulging others like this. There was a helpless smile in his pale-colored eyes. However, it made one's heart itch. He suppressed his laughter, but it made her ears numb. "Yunyan, he's still here." Bei Yunj's ears were sensitive to begin with, so she avoided him instinctively. But in the next moment, Chinyu, who was originally valiant, saw his cold sister turn around. "Why are you here?" His sister's tone was very calm, but it was not difficult to tell that if Ge knew that he was the one who had injured Huishidu, he might lose this sibling relationship. "I came to see him." The man, who was usually unrestrained, said stiffly, not daring to look at his Ge's unfriendly gaze. Chinyu regretted it even more. He should have let Ge live with him back then. This way, his sister would not have to feel sorry for a wild man and would not have to compete with the two at home for favor. "Then did you hit him?" Bei Yunj's questions were getting sharper and sharper. For some reason, Chinyu did not dare to admit it. When Huishidu received Chinyu's pleading gaze, his thin eyelids moved. He looked at the little girl, who had not been appeased successfully, for a while and suddenly laughed. "Yunyan, go and change your clothes first." This nightgown was indeed not suitable for them to chat like this. Pursing her lips, Bei Yunj went upstairs with a cold aura emanating from her. Seeing this, Chinyu heaved a sigh of relief and felt equally bitter. If his own sister wasn't close to him, he might as well treat her as an outsider. The man suddenly said, "You still want to stay here?" Chinyu, why did he feel that this person was showing off to him? "So what if I'm here?" Chinyu leaned against the sofa and pretended to be impressive. However, Huishidu sneered mysteriously. He lowered his head and buttoned his shirt casually. "Okay, then when Yunyan comes down, I'll send you off together." Chinyu almost jumped up immediately and walked towards the door without looking back. "Huishidu, this matter is not over. Do you think it's so easy to enter our Qin family?" Chinyu was very angry. He accurately grasped the words of the vicious older brother in the primetime wealthy family drama. It was indeed not easy to enter the Qin family. Other than Chinyu, there were many men in the Qin family. The most troublesome one was probably that President Qin Lian. Initially, Huishidu wanted to interact with this President Qin in the business world, but Qin Lian was obviously much more clear-headed than Chinyu. He rejected all the collaborations with the Hu Corporation. He even reminded Huishidu repeatedly about his brotherhood with Chinyu. Unfortunately, Huishidu indeed cherished this brotherhood very much. He even shamelessly used Chinyu's trust to visit the old master of the Qin family often. Chapter 1373. After interacting with him for more than a year, old Master Qin was already extremely satisfied with Huishidu.
Soon,
Bei Yunj changed her clothes and went downstairs, only to find that Chinyu had already left. She walked in front of Huishidu and snorted. "You're quite protective of him." Seeing that the young lady was unhappy, Huishidu glanced at the medical kit in her hand. He chuckled unconsciously and took it. "I'm just afraid that it won't be easy to enter the Qin family in the future." Bei Yunj frowned even more when she heard this. Back then, she wanted to fulfill the original owner's wish and knew very well that the original owner could not let go of anything in this life. It was nothing more than the Qin family and her family. As a bystander, she had been reborn in the body of the original owner. From the beginning, she was actually unwilling to stay in the Qin family and help her 3 biological brothers. In her opinion, the original owner was too soft-hearted. However, not long after, she began to dream nonstop. She dreamed of the memories of the original owner yearning for kinship, as well as the days when her brothers had repented and shared weal and woe with the original owner. Bei Yunj seemed to be able to feel how happy the original owner was to have this kinship. Later, when the original owner found out that she had an incurable disease, she did not want to drag them down, so she told Qinling coldly that she did not want to be their sister anymore. Therefore, Bei Yunj also understood that the original owner only wanted to fulfill her wish, not take revenge. She had no right to help the original owner in the way she thought was right. However, today, Qinyu had hit Huishidu for no reason, making Bei Yunj a little frustrated. She could only think of the original owner and her grandfather to suppress her anger. Then you'll stand there and take the beating if he hits you? Bei Yunj laughed in anger. She did not think that Huishidu had such a good temper. The man watched as Bei Yunj's expression changed from interesting, "How can I be angry over such a small matter?" to "I'm *king angry." He could not help but suppress the smile on his lips. He pulled her over and lowered his head to rest on the girl's neck, laughing hoarsely. Even his shallow breath sprayed on her sweater, heating her skin. Then, she heard the man's clear voice, which made her ears itch and heat up. "I did let him down. Isn't this? I feel guilty." Bei Yunj's entire body froze. She could feel the man's scorching body temperature, and she could also feel his beating heart. She was even angrier by the man's intimate and ambiguous actions. Bei Yunj was silent for a long time. There's no other way. She really did owe the original owner of this body. The man's cynical voice echoed in her ears, making her blush and her heart beat faster. "Why? Do you still want to elope with your brother?" He continued, "That won't do. Status is more important." Bei Yunj couldn't push him away for fear of pulling on his wound. She was even more helpless against this dog of a man who was still dishonest even after being beaten. She could only expressionlessly wait for the D*MN man to finish taking advantage of her. Then, she half-squatted and half-knelt in front of him. She asked the man sitting on the sofa to take off his shirt and carefully applied the medicine on his lower abdomen. Bei Yunj didn't notice anything wrong with this position. However, the man subconsciously glanced at the girl half-kneeling in front of him. After lowering his head and looking at her seriously, his sexy Adam's apple bobbed. Even the light mole on his Adam's apple seemed to have become a symbol of desire. Huishidu felt an itchy and numb feeling on his lower abdomen. He took a deep breath without batting an eyelid and actively suppressed the darkness and desire in his eyes. "Yun, get up first." The man's voice was abnormally hoarse. Chapter 1374. For a moment, he did not understand why he wanted to suffer. "Are you going to stand while I sit on the sofa?" Bei Yunj asked without looking up. Huishidu, what was the difference? The man forcefully suppressed the beautiful and hopeless evil thoughts in his mind and did not say anything else. However, to Huishidu, every minute and second of applying the medicine was torture. When Bei Yunj was finally done applying the medicine, she had just stood up when a coat suddenly covered her head. Bei Yunj. What was going on? By the time Bei Yunj took off her coat, the man had already left her sight. The next day, Yun University welcomed an unprecedented group of important guests. Continent K's 191st Laboratory and the teachers and students of Continent K's University came to visit Yun University for an academic exchange. Wang Huiying sat in the first row and watched Yun University's internal competition. When she did not see that person, she secretly calmed down. Thinking about it, how could that person be so bored as to come to school? Miss Wang has joined Continent K's University at such a young age. You can be considered the face of Continent K's University. I don't know who to congratulate. The professor sitting at the side smiled. That's right. It's Yun University's honor to invite the teachers and students of Continent K's University and the 191st Laboratory over. I hope Miss Wang won't be stingy with your guidance and valuable opinions. Unexpectedly, when someone said this, Wang Huiying smiled and said, Do you have any objections? For students of your school's standard, even if they are lucky enough to enter K University, I will still persuade them to withdraw." As soon as she finished speaking, Wang Huiying patted the non-existent creases on her purple leather coat. Even though her tone was smiling, her words were especially hurtful. The expressions of the professors of Yun University changed, but no one said anything for a moment. After all, Wang Huiying was an important guest invited by the school. In addition, Wang Huiying was from the 191st laboratory. No one dared to say anything. However, when the K University students saw this scene, they immediately felt superior in their hearts. Their expressions were filled with mockery and smugness. They did not know what the principal was thinking. He actually allowed them to have an academic exchange with Yun University. How could a university that couldn't even make it into the top 10 in the world be compared to the world-renowned K University? Sun Jiaping smiled gently. Yun University's motto is to put the students first. All of our students can be said to be some of the best children in the country. Of course, we also believe that these children will make good researchers in the future. There's an old saying in country A, "Don't bully a poor young man." Wang Huiying sneered. Professor Sun is really a philanthropist. How can one become a good researcher with no talent for scientific research and only rely on imagination? The professors present were irritated by these words, but they could only suppress their anger in front of visitors from afar. On the other hand, Wang Guanchen, who was sitting beside Wang Huiying, did not hide the arrogance and delight on his face. It was as if he had vented his anger. Who would have thought? Suddenly, there was a burst of applause not far away. Miss Wang is right. Scientific research talent is indeed very important. Everyone turned around and saw Si Qingyan walking over slowly. But before Wang Huiying could raise her eyebrows and curl her lips, she heard him say, "No wonder Miss Wang calls you little." Si Qingyan asked slowly with a smile, "However, our family is actually not that old. I don't know where the rumors came from, but they made it seem like our family is very old." Then Wang Huiying's expression froze, and the atmosphere turned cold. Chapter 1375. Not only Wang Huiying, but even Master K and the usually cold and arrogant experimenters from the 191st laboratory froze strangely when they heard this familiar name. In the face of absolute dominance, all arrogance was fleeting. When the professors of Yun University saw these people's faces turn green and red, they instantly felt happy and smiled as they spoke to them. "Sai, what's the big deal? He and Miss Wang are both scientific research geniuses. Their abilities are on par." The PhD student beside him silently glanced at his supervisor. This was an old con man. As expected, when Wang Huiying heard this, her face turned even paler. She looked like she was about to flip the table and fall out with him. This name was the pain of the young big shots in the industry in the past. Before the appearance of the young scientific research geniuses dominated a region, and each had their own merits. In the end, the appearance of this person shattered the pride of this group of geniuses who were proud of their top talents, including Wang Huiying. Wang Huiying squeezed out a fake smile. "I don't think I've heard any news from him in the past 2 months, right? Could it be that something has happened? If it were anyone else, they might only start to spread rumors after a year or 2 without any news. But it was different. The higher everyone's expectations of her, the greater the pressure she had to bear." Si Qingyan suppressed the darkness in his eyes. Actually, his heart ached for Bai Yunj. This guy was so young, but he had received so much attention from all over the world. Just as the professors did not know how to answer, Si Qingyan said coldly, "He's old enough." Before anyone could react, he continued, "He has to spend time in a relationship." Instantly, the atmosphere was strangely silent again. So, he had not been doing scientific research for the past 2 months because he had gone to date? Good Lord. To think that the outside world had already started to spread the news that he had lost his talent. There were even more ridiculous rumors that there was no such person at all. It was said that Country A had fabricated him to fool the international scientific research community. It was to attract the attention of other high-end scientific research organizations and achieve cooperation. I really want to meet him in person when I'm free. Wang Huiying also smiled, but she looked at the people in the competition and seemed to be chatting casually. I don't want to keep spreading rumors that country has secretly fabricated such a powerful character to cause a commotion in the international scientific research community. Even I almost believed it. Don't you think so? In fact, it wasn't just Wang Huiying. Even the professors of Yun University had never seen this mysterious upstart in the scientific research field. They didn't understand why such a super scientific research genius was hidden at the top. However, they believed that the state would never do such a thing as a fictional character. However, although Si Qingyan tried his best to hide it, he could not help but laugh. He realized that everyone was looking at him, so he just leaned back casually. Miss Wang, if it's really a fictional character, how can you reject Farisk? If that's the case, I might as well write it myself. Reject Farisk and send the guest presenter to the hospital. The things he did were indeed crazy beyond belief. No matter where he was, this kind of character would be unique. But I have a feeling that Miss Wang will see it. Si Qingyan looked at Wang Huiying, his smile not reaching his eyes. Sister, don't take it to heart. Those flies from Yun University are a bunch of trash. Wang Guanchen followed behind Wang Huiying and immediately said enthusiastically, You're a genius of 191. It's only a matter of time before you surpass him. End of chapter. Chapter 1376. Wang Huiying glanced at Wang Guanchen from bottom to top in disgust and sneered. All right, you don't have to worry about me. You, on the other hand, can't even compare to a freshman, and you still have the cheek to ask me for help? Wang Guanchen's expression stiffened as he clenched his fists. He hated this cousin of his because she had always been high and mighty and had never left him any dignity. However, compared to Wang Huiying, he could not accept Bai Yunj, an ordinary person who was nothing, acting arrogantly and looking down on him. Sister, Wang Huiying's expression improved slightly. She's just a wild girl. We'll deal with her on Monday. This time 191 is here for Higgins and Fernan's. Fernan's group? Isn't that in our nation? Wang Guanchen asked. Wang Huiying said, We are indeed here to cooperate with Higgins. However, we recently heard that Mr. Fernan's is also in Yuncheng, so we plan to meet them. Didn't Higgins only rise in power in the past 2 years? Do they need you to meet them personally? Wang Guanchen was suspicious. When Higgins was glorious, you were still in school. Wang Huiying sneered. However, although Higgins has been lonely before, based on their current momentum, it's only a matter of time before they surpass that year. We are requesting for cooperation this time, because of their technology core, VE. When Wang Guanchen heard this, he understood that VE was someone he could not afford to offend. However, he was even more puzzled. Since when did Yun Sheng have such hidden talents? At the same time, in the hotel's penthouse suite. You're an elder and you're arguing with a little girl? Are you crazy? Or is she too capable? Even Tang Boyang did not expect his father to be so protective of Bai Yunj. He gritted his teeth. Father, don't you think that Bai Yunj is not worthy of entering our Fernan's family? What does it have to do with you whether Shido likes her? What's so good about our family? Isn't it just a little more money? Besides, Shido doesn't even want to enter the Fernan's family. The old man's face darkened as he pointed at Tang Boyang with his walking stick. Roland, if you want to find trouble with that girl, I'll pretend that I don't have a son like you.
Dad.
How can you for an outsider? Enough. That girl is much better than you were when you were young. Old Master said unhappily. You and Shido have never watched television with me, nor have you read the newspaper to me in the morning. Roland did not expect that Bai Yunj would be able to bribe the old man with such a small favor. In fact, when they were in Neely, Bai Yunj was not idle either. It was just that he saw the old man waiting quietly by himself every time. It was too lonely. That was why she had come up with ways to annoy him and make him angry. On one hand, the old master despised her, but on the other hand, he hoped that she would stay for a few more days. If I could choose, I would prefer her to be my daughter or granddaughter. I won't give you a single cent of my family's property. I'll give it all to her. Fernans did not hide his love for Bei Yunj. After Fernans left, Tang Boyang took a deep breath and immediately called Qi Wuxiu with a gloomy face. Qi Wuxiu, what do you want to do with Bei Yunj? If this continued, he would not be able to compare to this wild girl in the Fernans family status. Qi Wuxiu sneered, and his tone was not good. Tang Boyang, are you really useless or are you good at acting? He gritted his teeth and asked, why didn't you tell me that Bei Yunj has someone protecting her? Chapter 1377. The two people he had sent to follow her had lost all contact a few days ago. Qi Wuxiu knew very well what this meant. This meant that his men had been captured by the police or army of Country A. But Tang Boyang, this useless person, did not tell him anything in advance. He couldn't even figure out the background of a little girl. Dubua. Tang Boyang did not expect Qi Wuxiu's men to be captured. Roland, I'll give you another chance. Find out who's around Bei Yunj. With that, Qi Wuxiu hung up. Meanwhile, Tang Boyang's mind was in a mess as he held the phone in a daze. There was actually someone by Bei Yunj's side that Qi Wuxiu was afraid of? Monday. Wang Huiying and the rest's faces darkened because they could not make an appointment with Higgins and Fernans. However, at the same time, Wang Guanchen, who was desperately trying to find trouble with Bei Yunj, could not find her either. In the laboratory. Why are you here today? Si Qingyan was doing an experiment when he stopped and glanced at her from the corner of his eye. You don't have class today? I told Professor Huang that you asked me for help, Bei Yunj said naturally as she lay on Si Qingyan's couch. Si Qingyan paused. Was this something a human would do? With Huang Zui's temper, wouldn't he come over to settle the score with him? Si Qingyan took a deep breath and decided to change the topic. Do you know that someone from Continent K is here? I heard that even the people from Laboratory 191 are here. Bei Yunj stopped flipping through the electronic documents. 191. Si Qingyan thought that Bei Yunj did not know about Laboratory 191 and explained, it's the #1 laboratory in Continent K. Didn't you know about it when you went to K University? Bei Yunj nodded vaguely. Recently, the people from Laboratory 191 had been chasing her closely, especially the head of the Shi family and Oz. They were afraid that the Wang family would usurp the throne and ask her every day when she would return to Continent K to hold the succession ceremony. At the thought of this, Bei Yunj's eyelids twitched. She decided to avoid the people from Laboratory 191. However, no matter how hard Bei Yunj tried to avoid it, trouble would still come knocking on her door. Noon. Bei Yunj had just eaten with Song Yao in the canteen when a few people suddenly sat beside them. Wang Guanchen placed the plate on the table, crossed his legs and sat beside Bei Yunj, eating in big mouthfuls. Bei Yunj, who have you been hiding from recently? Listen, Tian. Opposite him, Song Yao stopped her chopsticks and looked at Wang Guanchen with a strange gaze. This was the first time she had met someone who dared to provoke Bei Yunj. As expected, she turned around and saw Bei Yunj exchanging glances with her. Bei Yunj said slowly, let's talk after dinner. This sentence was obviously directed at Song Yao. Wang Guanchen thought that Bei Yunj was afraid of him and was tactfully giving in to him. Sure, but classmate Pei, remember what you said. Don't hide from me. The arrogance on Wang Guanchen's face made the corners of Lu Yuanxi and Chu Zixing's mouths twitch. Where did this confidence come from? Hearing this, Bei Yunj lost her appetite. Hide from you. Bei Yunj looked up at Wang Guanchen and seemed to have suddenly remembered something. Her beautiful eyes curled up. Ah, I almost forgot. So is it the Wang family in Continent K that freeloader? Instantly, the smug look on Wang Guanchen's face froze with the atmosphere. End of chapter. Chapter 1378. Wang Guanchen's expression darkened bit by bit. Pei Yun Ge. These 3 words seemed to be squeezed out from between his teeth. Bei Yunj slowly raised his eyebrows and continued to add fuel to the fire. Are you used to the food in Yun University? Will student Wang have indigestion? He was mocking Wang Guanshan's family for being addicted to living off women and stabbing a knife into their hearts. Bei Yunj put down his chopsticks and left with the plate. Eat slowly. Song Yao and the rest left as well. At this moment, Wang Guanshan's expression was already dark as he knocked over the plate angrily and kicked the table, causing a moment of silence and onlookers in the canteen. But no one dared to go up and talk to him. In the afternoon, Bei Yunj had just called Lin Longjun and confirmed that Lin Longjun was progressing smoothly. She had already controlled the spread of the virus and felt much more relieved. However, she did not expect to see Sun Jiaping on the other side making a call when she hung up the call. However, the other party on the phone was obviously angry. She could only hear Sun Jiaping coaxing this ancestor. Be good, don't be angry. Grandpa is already preparing to go to the hospital to see you. The toys and snacks you wanted are all in my hands now. Bei Yunj looked up and saw Sun Jiaping holding a pile of things in his hands. He could only use his neck and shoulder to hold the phone, but some snacks still fell to the ground. I don't care. You have to come and see me within an hour. The person on the other end of the line said angrily in a childish voice before hanging up the phone. At this moment, Sun Jiaping staggered, and the glass bottle of milk he was holding fell. His expression changed. Just as his mind was in a mess from anxiety, a fair and delicate hand caught the milk steadily. Sun Jiaping heaved a sigh of relief. When he looked up and saw Bei Yunj, he immediately smiled and said, Student Pei, thank you so much. Why is Professor Sun carrying so many things? Bei Yunj picked up the toys from the ground. It's all because of that little ancestor. She wants these things no matter what. I have to send them to the hospital quickly, Sun Jiaping said helplessly. Bei Yunj was silent for a moment. I'll go with you.
How can you do that?
Sun Jiaping frowned and rejected. But you can't carry so many things. Bei Yunj glanced at her watch and raised her eyebrows slightly. I'm free until 5:00 in the afternoon. Didn't you say that you wanted me to meet her? Sun Jiaping agreed and talked to Bei Yunj about Jingjing along the way. Bei Yunj didn't show any signs of impatience, but occasionally chimed in. When they entered the hospital, before they even pushed open the door to the ward, they could already hear the voices inside.
Stupid.
How are you going to teach me if you don't even know this? She sounded like a delicate and willful little girl. Bei Yunj's eyelids twitched, and she followed Sun Jiaping inside. Jingjing, you can't do this to brother Huang Qian. Sun Jiaping reprimanded her. Jingjing pursed her lips, and her eyes were full of pride. I didn't say anything wrong. I don't need him to teach me these things. I just asked him a question and he couldn't answer it. If he's not an idiot, then what is he? The little girl was indeed very smart, probably because of her father's excellent genes. Huang Qian, who was next to her, was extremely embarrassed. He exchanged glances with Bei Yunj and recognized Bei Yunj. Hello, Junior. Bei Yunj nodded as a greeting. Under Sun Jiaping's hospitality, she just sat by the side and played computer games. When Jingjing saw that Bei Yunj didn't even look at her, she was inexplicably angry. P.S. 3 more chapters. Chapter 1379. Jingjing sulked and played with the Rubik's Cube. When Sun Jiaping went out to get the medicine, Huang Qian also went out to avoid him. Thus, he could only let Bei Yunj stay. Jingjing is smarter than her father. It's my fault for not teaching her well. She has no manners at all, Sun Jiaping said apologetically. Huang Qian shook his head awkwardly. Sister Jingjing is smart. I really don't have anything to teach her. Sun Jiaping was also worried. It's good to be smart. No one can control her. She's lawless. In the past, when Jingjing's illness was not serious, he had also hired a teacher to teach her. In the end, they all retreated with pale faces and even returned the deposit. When Huang Qian heard this, he remembered that Bei Yunj was looking after Jingjing. He began to worry nervously. Would Junior Pei be tormented by this little princess who deliberately made things difficult for her? At the same time, the ward was completely silent. Jingjing could not take it anymore and started to lose her temper. You're all idiots. Bei Yunja's eyelids twitched. She just glanced at her indifferently and continued with her work. Jing was speechless. For the first time, she realized that her aggression was so weak. Jing said, "Only idiots play computer games every day." The aggressiveness of this sentence was even more obvious. Indeed, it attracted Bei Yunja's attention. However, when Bei Yunja's eyes really landed on her, the little girl knew that she was afraid. It was as if someone who did not like to bother with the little rascal was provoked one day. When Jing saw Bei Yunj walk over, she slowly picked up the test paper on the table.
What?
"I don't want you to teach me how to do my homework. I can do it," Jing said confidently. However, the next moment, she saw Bei Yunj roll the test paper into a stick and then hit her head. "Little rascal, don't you have any manners?" After being taught a lesson, Jing immediately exploded. "What are you doing?" Bei Yunj said lazily. "I'm trying to see if I can make you smarter." When the little girl heard this, she was furious and kept silent for a long time. Then, she asked incredulously, "Are you saying that I'm stupid?" Obviously, this was the first time the little girl had suffered such a great humiliation. After Jing came to her senses, she chuckled. "The knowledge of these questions, you all learned it when you went to college. I am only a junior high school student now." Upon hearing this, Bei Yunja's beautiful eyes twinkled as she stared straight at her. After a while, he poked her forehead with his index finger. "You're that good." It was the first time that Jing had seen someone who was more beautiful than on TV, not to mention Bei Yunja's pair of seductive foxy eyes. Almost no one could look at her with a smile for more than 10 seconds. In an instant, his face turned red. "You." Jing pursed her light pink lips, and her small hand could not help but grab the small quilt. She said in a fierce voice, "Grandpa said that my illness will be cured, and I will become a very powerful researcher." She looked up at Bei Yunj and said, "Everyone will treat me well and protect me. I'm a genius that everyone is fighting for." In the past 2 days, there were indeed people who understood the situation. They called and prepared to transfer Jing to the military hospital. Really? Why do geniuses need to be protected? Bei Yunja's words made Jing pause for a moment. She was speechless for a moment. Because, child, if someone protects you at all costs, it is not because you are very powerful, but because you carry the hopes of many people. Bei Yunj smiled and pinched her cheek as a punishment. Chapter 1380. Jing was also inexplicably afraid of this strange person. The person in front of her was different from Sun Jiaping's former students. She was not easy to deal with and was not easy to understand. No, as a researcher, you will be respected by many people and have a lot of money to spend. Brother Tang Chung went a country, and has endless money to spend. Jing's eyes were full of desire. "As long as I grow up, I can support Grandpa. Grandpa won't have to be talked about by those students behind his back. Professor Sun won't go to country, Bei Yunj began to peel the apple slowly.
Why?
Jing stared at Bei Yunj with resentment in her eyes. Professor Sun's father was detained abroad for 10 years. In the end, he sneaked back to China. After Bei Yunj finished speaking, Jing thought Bei Yunj would hand her the peeled apple, but she saw Bei Yunj eating it by herself. Jing, you have time to drive people away, but you don't have time to get yourself an apple? After saying that, Bei Yunj went out to answer a phone call. She didn't do anything, but she had the hot-tempered little girl under control. Bad woman. Jing was very angry. She seemed to have suddenly thought of an idea, and her eyes were shining. After a while, Bei Yunj returned to the ward and found that the person on the bed was gone. This little girl needs to be taught a lesson. Downstairs, Jing avoided the crowd and breathed the fresh air in the garden. While the security guards were not paying attention, she quickly ran out of the hospital. How is she good? How can she teach me a lesson? Jing thought that Bei Yunj might be scolded by Sun Jiaping because she went missing. She immediately felt relieved. Let Bei Yunj teach her a lesson. However, Jing jumped to the roadside stall to buy snacks, but She didn't notice that someone had been following her for a long time. When she walked to a place where there was no one, she suddenly heard a voice behind her. Jingjing. Hearing this familiar voice, Jingjing suddenly turned pale and dropped the chocolate ice cream she secretly bought. It seems that Sun Jiaping, that old fart, has raised you well. A ruffian youth with two burly strangers beside him. But I'm still your cousin. How about you go back and have a chat with your cousin? Go away. Jingjing took a step back. Her eyes were red. If it weren't for Sun Jiaping, Jingjing would have been sold by this rogue cousin who only knew how to drink and gamble. How long can that old fart take care of you? Xiang Jing, don't forget your surname just because your parents are dead. You don't know what's good for you. See how I'll deal with you. The young man's face darkened, and he stepped forward to grab Xiang Jing. You really don't know what you are, do you? The young man had just pushed Xiang Jing to the ground and grabbed her collar, wanting to teach her a lesson. Suddenly, a voice sounded around them. Yo, it's quite lively here. Xiang Jing's eyes were filled with fear and tears. When she heard the voice, she turned her head hopefully, but she didn't expect it to be Bei Yunj.
Who are you?
I'm warning you, don't meddle in other people's business. The young man was on guard and grabbed Xiang Jing's collar. He wasn't so stupid that he couldn't be saved. He could see that the sloppy person in front of him was more or less dangerous. I'm looking after this child. Now I have to take him back to report. Bei Yunj looked at his watch and said slowly. One of the people on the other side was stunned. He said greedily, Brother Xiang, the watch in that woman's hand seems to be worth tens of millions. Chapter 1381. Really? The young man did not expect that his little cousin would know such a rich person. He immediately stared at Bei Yunj enviously. Really? I saw the news last time. Even if you want to fake this watch, you can't do it. The young man was instantly tempted, but he also began to make an abacus without batting an eyelid. You can have my sister if you want. As long as you give me that watch, I won't disturb her in the future. What was a watch? This woman was so rich. If he kidnapped her, wouldn't he be able to get a few 100 million yuan? When the time came, he would take the money and hide abroad. Who would be able to catch him? Okay. Bei Yunj agreed very easily, but Xiang Jing stared at Bei Yunj with red eyes. Turn around now, take off the watch, raise your hands and kneel down. Do you hear me? The young man pointed at Bei Yunj and ordered her arrogantly. When Bei Yunj heard this, the corners of her lips curled up lazily. The next moment, Bei Yunj turned around calmly, lowered her head, and began to take off the watch slowly. This action was slow and pleasing to the eye, but the three hooligans could not wait any longer. They could not help but sneak behind Bei Yunj. Hurry up, raise your hands and kneel down. Jing was shocked by this fierce voice and her whole body trembled. She blamed herself and tears fell down her face. Sister then. Xiang Jing saw Bei Yunj holding the watch that she took off with one hand, lazily raising both her hands as if she was surrendering, and slowly half-kneeling down on one knee. However, just as the other party's eyes were greedy and fierce, and they wanted to take the opportunity to snatch the watch and kidnap Bei Yunj, a cold and ruthless look flashed across Bei Yunj's eyes, as if she had sensed the movement behind her. Before the others could react, Bei Yunj suddenly turned around and quickly swept her leg towards the other party's head. Then, she grabbed the other person's collar with one hand and kneed his abdomen. His movements were smooth and fluid, all done in one go. Before the others could react, they saw Bei Yunj pull out a cold dagger from his waist and point the tip of the dagger at the person beside Xiang Jing. Her eyes were cold, and she asked leisurely, "What should I do? Do I regret it again?" However, at this time, the three people's legs were already weak and their backs were cold. They had bullied the weak and feared the strong, but this was the first time they met with such a hard nail. What do you want?" Bei Yunj's tone was quite gentle as she smiled. "Nothing. I just want to remove some obstacles for our harmonious socialist path." But compared to a normal threat, this sounded even more frightening. "Don't come over." After the three strong-looking men finished speaking, they were scared out of their wits and staggered away. Calm. Uh, uh, uh. She turned her head instinctively. She saw Bei Yunj slowly pick up a thick and long branch from the side. It looked like a thin stick used to hit people. It's done. Bei Yunj held the branch with one hand. Xiangjing? ? Then, she saw Bei Yunj use the half-meter-long thick branch to pat the palm of her other hand. This action was inexplicably scary. She chuckled and looked at her again. A cold glint appeared in her eyes as she asked in a calm tone, "Isn't it your turn now?" Xiangjing. Chapter 1382. Sister. Xiangjing was inexplicably terrified. One could hear the timidity in her voice. She reminded her sister softly, "It's against the law to hit someone." "Yes, I haven't drunk tea in the police station in this area." Bei Yunj sneered and walked toward her. The person who had just wanted to remove obstacles for a harmonious society changed her attitude faster than flipping a book. "Sister, I'm wrong." Xiangjing suddenly pounced on Bei Yunj and started to cry in a childish voice. "Boo-hoo, I'm really wrong." The atmosphere was silent for a long time. Just when Xiangjing thought that Bei Yunj's heart softened, she heard the other party's clear and cold voice. "Are you going to wipe your snot and tears on my body?" Xiangjing, why was this woman so stubborn? Not long after, when Sun Jiaping returned to the ward, he found that his little granddaughter was very obedient. She sat on the bed and did her homework. She didn't even raise her head. However, the atmosphere was a little strange. "Professor Sun, I have something to do, so I'll go back first." After Bei Yunj finished speaking, Sun Jiaping nodded and watched as she left without looking back. Xiangjing immediately threw away the pen in her hand. "Grandpa, is she the school bully in your school?" Xiangjing's eyes were full of curiosity. "Sun Jiaping, where did she learn this word from?" He suddenly thought of the situation at the hotel and asked, "What did she do?" Xiangjing felt guilty. She didn't dare to say that Bei Yunj helped her teach the bad guys a lesson when she ran out blindly. "It's just that I think this sister is very powerful." Sun Jiaping and Huang Qian were very surprised. Xiangjing had been arrogant since she was young. Other than Sun Jiaping, she was arrogant and rude to everyone. However, he never thought that he would sincerely praise Bei Yunj for being amazing. Jing, she's the top scorer in the college entrance examination of our Yun University. She participated in the postgraduate competition when she was in her first year. Sun Jiaping laughed. Xiangjing was unhappy. "What's so great about that?" "But brother Huang Qian is just a doctoral student. He's not that powerful." "Huang Qian? Did they have to drag him out and whip his corpse?" "Silly girl. When Bei Yunj participated in the postgraduate exchange competition, there were 2 but students." Sun Jiaping scratched her nose. "His students are all top geniuses. She beat the student?" Xiangjing was in disbelief and became agitated. How is this possible? In Xiangjing's heart, this was a belief that could not be defeated. Even if it was his student, he should not be defeated so easily. Huang Qian sighed as well. "I graduated from Hengda as well. I heard from Hengda's teachers that Pei Qian's grades weren't good at other high schools, but ever since she entered Hengda, she's become the top student. I think it might be because classmate Pei loves to fight too much. She used to treat this as her main job. Otherwise, he wouldn't have ended up repeating a year." Xiangjing. Just how much did he love fighting? "Grandpa, can I go to Yun University to play with Sister Pei?" Xiangjing couldn't help but ask. She did not believe that Bei Yunj was so powerful. "Sure. Wait for Jingjing's treatment to be over."
No.
"Didn't you say that she'll be transferred to another hospital in 2 days?" "Grandpa, let me go look for Sister Pei tomorrow." Sun Jiaping had no choice but to agree. However, Huang Qian's scalp went numb. He had a feeling that Xiangjing was up to something. The next day, Bei Yunj was still staying in the dormitory of Yun University. She didn't expect to receive a knock on her door early in the morning. She suppressed the impatience in her eyes and opened the door to see a small figure. Chapter 1383. Xiangjing's eyes were bright. She was wearing a beautiful dress and hugging a long-eared rabbit plushie. Sister, before she could finish speaking, the door was suddenly closed by the person with a dark expression. Because the soundproofing of the dormitory door was not very good, they could still hear the commotion inside. Who is it? Someone asked curiously. Bei Yunji's voice trailed over. I don't know. Xiangjing was speechless. How could someone be so unreasonable? Fortunately, not long after, a beautiful and gentle-looking sister from Xiangjing opened the door. Are you here to look for someone? Song Yao's lips were curved. She was wearing a light-colored sweater and her eyes made one feel comfortable. It was a pity that there was an emotionless woman beside her. Why did you let her in? Bei Yunji's tone was still a little unhappy, but her slanted eyes looked excessively beautiful. Song Yao handed snacks to Xiangjing. She just woke up and is like this. Xiangjing really did not understand why such a good-tempered sister would be related to Bei Yunji. Thank you, sister. Are you Song Yao? I've seen your drama. Yes. Song Yao replied with a smile, the dimples on her cheeks faintly visible. Bei Yunji turned around and saw Song Yao giving all the snacks she had bought for her to Xiangjing. Song Yao asked with a smile, Are you here to look for Yunji? Xiangjing nodded. Grandpa said that there's an exchange competition in school recently. There seem to be many people from Continent K. Will Sister Pei participate? Xiangjing really wanted to see if Bei Yunji was as capable as Grandpa said. Song Yao said, I don't think so. Don't tell me you're scared? After Xiangjing muttered, Bei Yunji had already glanced to her coldly. Xiangjing immediately shrank towards Song Yao. Bei Yunji snorted. You still know how to hide? Hearing this, Song Yao, who was scaring the child again, was speechless. Then why aren't you participating in the competition? Grandpa said that you're very good. Those people from Continent K must want to compete with you. Xiangjing had guessed correctly. These few days, people from Continent K had been looking for her everywhere. Wang Guanchen wanted to find Bei Yunji and take revenge on Bei Yunji. There were also people sent by Patriarch Shi to search for Bei Yunji's whereabouts. They wanted to bring her back to Continent K to hold the succession ceremony. Am I very free? After Bei Yunji finished speaking, Xiangjing also felt that Bei Yunji made a lot of sense. Until the afternoon, she was brought to a movie and dinner by Song Yao and Bei Yunji. Xiangjing felt as if a fishbone was stuck in his throat. He looked at Bei Yunji with condemnation in his eyes. Don't you have nothing better to do? But not long after, the class president of Bei Yunji called and said that the school was organizing a group of students to watch the competition and learn from each other. They had to go back, but Xiangjing was very happy. However, in the University competition venue, the atmosphere was a bit tense. The students from Continent K all had arrogant and mocking expressions on their faces. How many competitions have there been? University hasn't even won a single competition. What's the point? That's right. A few days ago, I even heard Sun Jiaping from the physics department and Si Qingyan from the computing department mocking our Professor Wang. This made me think that they were very capable. I didn't expect them to be a bunch of boastful paper tigers. The students of K University deliberately raised their voices to mock them so that many people could hear them clearly. The students of Yun University had always been the top students that others called top students. They had never been mocked like this before. Sun Jiaping doesn't have much ability to begin with. He's just an old good-for-nothing. Wang Guanchen's voice suddenly sounded, and these words were heard by Xiangjing and Song Yao, who had just entered. Xiangjing was furious and rushed forward. You're the good-for-nothing. Trash. Where did you get the cheek to talk about my grandfather? Wang Guanchen's expression was extremely ugly when he was suddenly scolded by a little girl. But soon, Song Yao appeared in front of him. Student Wang should know that you scolded a professor for no reason. If the situation is serious, you will be punished. Wang Guanchen found it ridiculous. Punishment? Did I say something wrong? Hearing this, Xiang Jing almost pounced on Wang Guanchen and bit a piece of meat, but Song Yao grabbed her tightly. If student Wang really doesn't like Yun University, why are you still here? Hearing this, Wang Guanchen's expression darkened. Song Yao, you're really no different from Bei Yunj. Do you think Bei Yunj can protect you? Let me tell you, she will be completely finished this time. So will you. After Wang Guanchen laughed coldly, he said to Mr. K, ignore that old man. It's more important for you to win the competition. Guanchen, I thought you had a good relationship with the people from Yun University. I didn't expect you to be on our side, K University's student teased. My sister is your professor. Who can compare to my sister? Wang Guanchen raised his chin and went to K University's resting area. I know my grandfather is hated by many people. Xiang Jing lowered her head and bit her lip. But it's all because of me. If it wasn't for her treatment, Sun Jiaping wouldn't be thinking about how to earn money every day. Jing, that's why you have to grow up well. Song Yao rubbed her head again and smirked. Don't worry, Yun University will win the next competition. Jing looked up at Song Yao and then at the competition stage. This time, it was the computing department. Jing's eyes widened when she saw someone. Jian Shi. Jian Shi was a famous genius in the computing department. Not only Jing, but everyone else was also excited when they saw Jian Shi. When Jian Shi was in Yun University, she could be said to be the tyrant of the computing department. When did Senior Jian come back? Everyone was overjoyed. Even Cheng Zihuai, who was participating behind Jian Shi, was completely overshadowed. It's good that she's back. I want to see if the students from K University are so capable. It's true if they can win against our senior Jian. Wang Huiying noticed the cheers and glanced at Jian Shi with a frown. Who was that person? The people from Yun University seemed to like her a lot. Wang Guanchen paused. Why is she back? It was only when Wang Huiying looked at him that he immediately said, It's Jian Shi. She's a famous genius of Yun University. According to my friend, Neely, not only is she the niece of Marcus, the director of the Computing Institute in our nation, but she's also a student of. Even the others sucked in a breath of cold air when they heard about this background. Marcus's niece, a student of? Was this someone who had won at the starting line since she was born? Wang Huiying's eyes darkened as well, as if she was facing a formidable enemy. Na, He Xian, go and test her standards. Yes. The students who were sent did not dare to slack off. However, under the anxious atmosphere, no one expected Jian Shi to win so easily. Seeing the scene, someone felt a chill run down the back of their heads. She's still a student of the little devil taught by the big devil. The pressure she gave off when she crashed the competition was the same. Oh, the students of K University are so weak. Professor C even called me back. Isn't it interesting? Jian Shi was not someone who would forgive others, especially after being instigated by Si Qingyan, who said that the people of K University were finding trouble with her teacher every day. Chapter 1384. Jian Shi patted her skirt. Hurry up, don't waste time. I still have homework from the teacher. The computer science students really wanted to brag about their senior, Jian Shi. After not seeing her for a year, Jian Shi was still the god of the computer science department. Meanwhile, the people from K University looked embarrassed. Wang Huiying took a deep breath and did not want to argue with Wang Huiying directly. Don't be nervous. It's okay if you can't win. There's still a physics competition. The other students were indignant, but they could only nod. However, they still lost badly in the next 2 rounds. The final score between K University and Yun University, 0-7. The students of Yun University cheered and jumped for joy. Even the professors were beaming with joy, and their faces were rosy. Si Qingyan sighed. It seems like she's really good. Jian Shi's improvement was godly. Professor C, what are you talking about? Si Qingyan said. Nothing. On the competition stage, the students of K University were suffering like never before. When did Yun University have such a terrifying student? After the competition ended, Wang Huiying asked the students to prepare for the next competition. To prevent such a situation from happening again, she even stuffed 2 young members of the 191st laboratory with unfamiliar faces. However, she did not expect Jian Shi to compete in the next physics competition. Wang Huiying slapped the armrest of the chair and gritted her teeth. Why is it her again? It's okay. Jian Shi studies computing. It's useless for her to compete in the physics competition, the K University teacher comforted her. However, half an hour after the start of the competition, it proved that his idea was wrong. Even the physics students of K University and the 2 young members of the 191st laboratory were not enough in Jian Shi's hands. So far, K University had only obtained 1 point. What should we do? If this continues, we'll definitely lose again. The K University teacher panicked. Wang Huiying's face darkened, and Wang Guanchen was in disbelief. Sister, what should we do? We can't let them continue to win. Shut up. Wang Huiying scolded impatiently and took a deep breath. Get Meng Xingyun over. Her eyes were cold.
Soon.
Meng Xingyun arrived on stage. Wang Huiying chatted with him briefly and asked him to go back to the competition. However, no one noticed that one of the students who had spoken to Meng Xingyun had quietly gone backstage. At this very moment, there were only 2 people in the backstage control room. One was a student from Yun University, and the other was a student from K University. After receiving the message, K University student's eyes flashed, and he left when no one was paying attention. Are you sure you want this answer? The K University students were having a private conversation in the corridor. It's just a competition. We can afford to lose. Jian Shi is back. Until now, our K University hasn't gotten a single point. If this goes on, won't K University become a joke? That person suppressed his voice, but he gritted his teeth as he listened. All right. K University students sent him the questions he had secretly taken. However, no one noticed that there was a small figure following them.
Soon.
The second match began. However, the situation had changed. K University student could always blurt out the answer accurately before Jian Shi could answer. The 2 teams were now neck and neck. The corners of Wang Huiying's lips slowly curled up as she pondered over how to pass the last question she had set to her student. She held the answer and steps of the question in her hands. Just as she was about to go over, a small figure appeared out of nowhere. Wang Huiying frowned in pain, but she quickly realized that Xiang Jing was picking up the note on the ground. Her gaze was cold as she stepped on Xiang Jing's hand with her high heels. What are you doing? Chapter 1385. Xiang Jing's face was pale from the pain, and she could only look up at her stubbornly. You cheated. You're cheating. I saw it. Wang Huiying's gaze turned even colder, but she exerted more strength under her feet. She asked with a smile, What nonsense are you talking about? Professor Wang. Song Yao's voice sounded, and her usually gentle eyes lost their warmth. She looked at Wang Huiying, who was stepping on Xiang Jing's hand expressionlessly. Xiang Jing suddenly screamed. Her face was pale, but she insisted on not letting go of the note. Song Yao pursed her lips. Professor Wang, I'm sorry. With that said, Song Yao suddenly pushed Wang Huiying. Wang Huiying's expression changed. If it wasn't for the person supporting her from behind, she would have fallen to the ground. Song Yao, what are you doing? Wang Guanchen's face was dark and ruthless as he stared at her with his hawk-like sharp eyes. The note. Before Xiang Jing could be happy, someone appeared behind her and suddenly took her away. What are you all arguing about? The dean of K University tore the note into pieces and reprimanded with a cold expression. Are the students of Yun University so unreasonable? It's you. You're cheating. Xiang Jing could no longer suppress the grievance and anger in her heart. Tears fell as she pointed at them. Shameless. You beat us by cheating. Song Yao wanted to take Xiang Jing to the infirmary, but Xiang Jing refused to listen. Sister, they're cheating. This group of people are cheating. Zhou Guanchen suddenly mocked. Oh, I was wondering who it was. Isn't this Professor Sun Jiaping's granddaughter? Hearing this, Wang Huiying only glanced at Xiang Jing and walked in front of Song Yao. She stared at her and said calmly, "Song Yao, right? I want to see if you can continue to stay here." With that said, Wang Huiying turned around and left. However, Wang Guanchen laughed coldly and actually walked in front of Song Yao. He raised his hand and suddenly slapped Song Yao. At this moment, even the Yun University students beside Wang Guanchen froze. This was Song Yao. Was it all right for Wang Guanchen to provoke Bei Yunj like this? *TCH. How dare you hit my sister? After saying this, Xiang Jing couldn't help but get angry. She suddenly grabbed Wang Guanchen's hand and bit it hard. Wang Guanchen didn't hesitate. His face turned ferocious, and he wanted to slap Xiang Jing too. However, Chu Zhixing and Lu Yuanxi, who had just arrived, immediately stopped him. "What the hell? Are you hitting a child here?" Lu Yuanxi's eyes were cold. When his eyes met the slap on Song Yao's face, he froze. "Sister Yao, your face. After all, it was the strength of an adult man." Song Yao could not stop him at all. Everything happened too suddenly. After Song Yao regained her senses, she could only ask, "Can you send Xiang Jing to the infirmary?" **CK. He even hit a girl? Lu Yuanxi was furious. But in the next moment, a voice sounded not far away. "What are you guys doing? I asked you to buy something for me. Are you avoiding me?" Bei Yunj chewed her gum and looked at Lu Yuanxi and Chu Zhixing, who were standing out in the crowd, with a faint smile. Lu Yuanxi couldn't suppress his anger and asked with a fake smile, "Bei Yunj, your Tian has been bullied and you're still asking me for food?" However, the meaning of this sentence in the ears of the couple fans was, "Your wife has been bullied and you still have the cheek to eat?" Just as expected, the casual smile on Bei Yunj's face disappeared, and her eyes seemed to be covered with a layer of coldness as she walked quickly in front of them. When Bei Yunj saw the red mark on Song Yao's face, the anger in his eyes could not be suppressed, and he suddenly asked with a smile, "Who the **CK hit you?" Chapter 1386. It was almost everyone's first time hearing Bei Yunj scold her like this, and they were quite angry. Bei Yunj turned around and glanced at everyone. Her faint smile made people's scalps turn numb. "What do you mean? Do you think I'm dead?" "Yunj." Song Yao grabbed Bei Yunj's hand, but struggled free silently. Bei Yunj walked in front of Wang Guanchen. "Is that you?" Wang Guanchen was still reckless and arrogant. "What's wrong?" "She was disrespectful to my sister just now." Before he could finish speaking, Bei Yunj suddenly raised her leg and kicked him in the chest. Wang Guanchen was like a broken kite as he flew back 1 to 2 meters. Then his face turned pale and his expression was ferocious as he clutched his chest in pain. It was obvious that he did not expect Bei Yunj to be so daring. "Student Wang, I think I'm starting to like you a little." Bei Yunj looked down carelessly and snorted. She walked over and squatted down, patting his face lightly. "I like you so much that I'm starting to think about which cemetery in Yunqing you should lie in." There was a unique friendliness in her clear voice, but it made people's hair stand on end. Someone come quickly." Wang Guanchen was so scared that his body turned cold. However, before he could call for help, Bei Yunj suddenly stood up and stepped on his forearm mercilessly. The sound of bones breaking was crisp, and Wang Guanchen's scream made people's backs turn cold. However, Bei Yunj only used the soles of her feet to slowly crush him. She smiled slowly and asked, "Classmate Wang, can we talk some sense into each other?" This scene was traumatizing to the onlookers. Was there someone who broke someone's hand while asking if they could be reasonable? At this moment, even Xiang Jing could not help but look at her injured hand, then at Wang Guanchen, who was not far away. Her scalp turned numb. She suddenly realized how arrogant she had been in front of Bei Yunj in the past, testing the edge of danger. "Won't sister be expelled?" Chu Zhixing and Lu Yuanxi stopped Song Yao and did not let her see this bloody scene. Chu Zhixing nodded. "If you drop out of school, You'll be forced to inherit billions of assets. Xiangjing. At first, Wang Guanchen was in so much pain that he couldn't react. Only when he felt that his bones were about to be crushed did he suddenly nod his head. Bei Yunj tilted her head and smiled lazily. She continued, "Actually, I usually break one of Miss Song's hands if someone touches her face. Tell me, how should I greet you?" Wang Guanchen was in so much pain that his whole body was trembling. His eyes were full of fear, and he could not make a sound from his throat. Bei Yunja's lips curved into a smile, as if she was trying to negotiate with him. Crippled one hand. That's not enough, right? When the surrounding people saw this scene, no one dared to intervene. Everyone knew that they could touch anyone in Yun University, but not Song Yao. Besides, many people in school had a good impression of Song Yao.
To the extent that
There were even some students who coincidentally blocked the scene in the name of being spectators. When Wang Huiying heard the news, Wang Guanchen was almost beaten to death. Professor Wang, bad news. A student from Yun University hit Brother Chen. What? Wang Huiying's expression changed. She threw the glass of water on the table and rushed over. Who's courting death? How dare they hit someone from the Wang family in broad daylight? Wang Huiying looked at the dense crowd and gritted her teeth. Get lost. Chapter 1387. When Wang Huiying pushed through the crowd, Bei Yunj had a baseball bat in one hand and a baseball in the other. The baseball bat was still pressed against Wang Guanchen's back. Are you crazy? Who did this? How dare you touch someone from the Wang family? After Wang Huiying finished speaking, she stared at Bei Yunja's back view gloomily. She didn't recognize any familiarity. Miss Wang, you're here? When she heard this familiar voice, Wang Huiying froze. Then, she saw Bei Yunj slowly turn around. It's you. Wang Huiying's pupils shrank. Her anger dissipated instantly and was replaced by fear. She shook her head crazily and said, Impossible. You're not a student of Yun University. I've never seen you in the computer science department. Who said I'm in the computer science department? Bei Yunj kicked Wang Guanchen slowly in front of her. He looked unscrupulous and said, Didn't your good brother tell you that I'm in the physics department? What? Wang Huiying's face turned pale. The people around them were even more confused. No one could understand the situation. Professor Wang, who had always been arrogant, seemed to be an old acquaintance of Bei Yunj. It was obvious that Wang Huiying was afraid of Bei Yunj. Sister. When she heard Wang Guanchen's voice, Wang Huiying calmed down and said, Bei Yunj, you're just a student. How dare you hit someone? You're a professor, so you can step on a child's hand? Lu Yuanxi mocked. Bei Yunj looked at Xiangjing and saw that her hand was injured. Wang Huiying, you're capable now, aren't you? Bei Yunj's voice was ambiguous, but it made people feel fearful. Wang Huiying was also inexplicably afraid. She took a step back and swallowed her saliva. Bei Yunj, you don't do anything rash. Wang Huiying was saved by the arrival of the principal of Yun University and a few professors. What's going on here? I heard that there's a fight here? The principal looked at the scene and met Bei Yunj's harmless eyes. All right. He knew who it was. The principal took a deep breath. Bei Yunj, are you fighting again? Bei Yunj said lazily, Am I fighting? Everyone present was silent. The principal pointed at Wang Guanchen on the ground. What's wrong with him? Student Wang, are you fighting with me? Bei Yunj looked at him indifferently and asked. The crowd was strangely silent. Indeed, he didn't. Wang Guanchen didn't even have a chance to fight back. How could it be called a fight? Wang Guanchen had been beaten half to death. Under Bei Yunj's gentle gaze, his words were stuck in his throat. Bei Yunj was the best at using violence to curb violence. Bei Yunj, don't be too arrogant. Wang Huiying was so angry that her whole body was trembling. She wanted to rush up and tear Bei Yunj apart. Professor Wang, please calm down. The principal's temples were throbbing as he pointed at Bei Yunj. Bei Yunj, do you know how wrong it is to hit someone? Principal, it was Wang Guanchen who hit me first. That's why this happened. Song Yao walked out and openly revealed the bright red palm mark on her face. She pursed her lips. If the school wants to punish Bei Yunj, then I'm her accomplice. The school was already having a headache because of this matter, and after hearing Song Yao's words, it became even worse.
Suddenly,
the restless person by the side even held Song Yao's hand brazenly. She turned around and smiled lazily.
It's so touching, Tian.
Song Yao was speechless. Chapter 1388. The atmosphere changed inexplicably. The students at the back all had excited expressions on their faces that said, I can F *, King get it. The principal's expression darkened. What are you doing? Song Yao wanted to break free, but she could not break free from Bei Yunj's hand. This person was an expert at acting shamelessly. Bei Yunj, come back to the principal's office with me now. With that said, the principal turned around and got someone to help Wang Guanchen up. He asked Wang Huiying and her brother along the way. However, he did not expect Bei Yunj to suddenly pick up the baseball. In the next second, she threw the ball in her hand upwards and swung the bat. It shot towards a certain direction swiftly and accurately.
Suddenly,
Wang Huiying screamed miserably. She was already holding her swollen and trembling hand as she gritted her teeth and looked at Bei Yunj. That's enough, Professor Wang. You don't have to apologize this time. I'll take back the interest. Bei Yunj casually placed the baseball bat on her shoulder and raised an eyebrow. Her eyes were playful and cold, but she was indescribably high-spirited. Wang Huiying was so angry that her body was trembling, but her hand hurt so much that she broke out in cold sweat. Professor Wang, go and deal with it first. The principal was already numb as he looked at Bei Yunj expressionlessly. It was not that he had never seen a troublemaker, but this was the first time he had met someone who would be more aggressive the more they were against someone with a bad status. Bei Yunj, go to the principal's office and wait for me now. Don't think that I can't do anything to you just because Director Lin went to our nation. The principal was furious and pointed in the direction of the principal's office.
Okay.
Bei Yunj answered perfunctorily and walked towards the principal's office. Yunj. Song Yao grabbed Bei Yunj's hand and frowned. If Wang Huiying insisted on this matter, Bei Yunj would not be able to get away so easily.
Don't worry about me.
Go and apply it on your face when you're free. Bei Yunj glanced at the red mark on her face and was still a little angry. She was puzzled. She had treated this fellow like an ancestor for such a long time. He couldn't possibly be a bun, right? She suppressed her emotions and suddenly reached out to smooth Song Yao's eyebrows. Her eyes curved. All right, I'm fine. After Bei Yunj left, Song Yao pursed her lips, her eyes dark. Meanwhile, Lu Yuanxi had just finished his call and said to Song Yao, It's okay, Yao. My family has some connections with Confederate 191. I've already gotten someone to help. The headmaster's office. Before the principal came, he had already asked the students about what had happened. He knew that Bei Yunj did not cause trouble on purpose. But she did it in front of the whole school. She was simply reckless. Bei Yunj, do you know that you were wrong? Got it. The principal felt even more aggrieved. There was no psychological burden for this person to admit his mistake. Moreover, according to the personalities of the three brothers of the Qin family, they might not come to school to deal with Bei Yunj. They might even come to school to protect their sister. The principal felt suffocated at the thought of that scene. Suddenly, someone knocked on the door and barged in. Principal, bad news. Student Wang just left the school and was beaten up before she entered the hospital. She was already injured and she was still beaten up? The principal looked at Bei Yunj instinctively with a suspicious expression. Bei Yunj said, If you think that way, I can't help it. The principal was speechless. All right, then it wasn't Bei Yunj who got someone to do it. At this moment, Wang Huiying also pushed open the door angrily. Her hand was already bandaged. Her expression was dark. Principal Xiang, aren't you going too far? Can a student lay her hands on a professor from another school? Chapter 1389. Wang Huiying was anxious to make Bei Yunj pay the price, so she did not go to the hospital. Instead, she watched Wang Guanchen get into the car. She did not expect that someone would dare to hit Wang Guanchen on the road. Even the car that sent Wang Guanchen to the hospital was destroyed. "Professor Wang, don't worry. We will deal with this matter," the principal said hurriedly. "Deal with it? Make her drop out of school?" Wang Huiying looked at Bei Yunj with sarcasm in her eyes. "Professor Wang, this is my fault for not teaching my students well. But you know how this matter started." The principal handed a cup of tea to Wang Huiying. But it was obvious that he did not want Bei Yunj to drop out of school just like that. After all, Bei Yunj was in the wrong, but Wang Huiying and Wang Guanchen were the ones who started it first. Wang Huiying took the cup and sneered. "Principal Xiang, do you think I will just let this matter go?" She stared at Bei Yunj with a venomous gaze. "If your school does not deal with this properly, I will report this matter to the higher-ups." Hearing this, the principal's face turned serious. He knew that if this matter was spread, it would be a threat to Bei Yunj. He could only ask Bei Yunj to contact her parents first. "Bei Yunj, call her parents." After that, the principal took the opportunity to pour a cup of water and said in a low voice, "Ask old Master Qin to come." Others might not know how the Qin family rose to power back then, but Principal Xiang clearly remembered that old Master Qin had developed from Continent K. Principal Xiang was personally promoted by Mingzhang, and Lin Lanjun was a senior. In addition, Bei Yunj was a good seedling, so he could not bear to see anything happen to Bei Yunj. Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows. Suddenly, the corners of her lips curled up. She slowly pressed the landline button. After a while, Bei Yunj answered softly. "Okay. I will wait for you in the principal's office." "Okay, got it." After Bei Yunj hung up the phone, her eyelids twitched unconsciously. She rubbed her ears that were numb from the noise. The principal suddenly had a bad feeling and immediately pulled her aside. "Who did you call? We have to solve the problem, do you know that?" "I know." Bei Yunj slowly glanced at Wang Huiying. Suddenly, he chuckled softly. "We do need to solve some problems." A mocking look appeared in Wang Huiying's eyes. The injuries on Wang Guanchen's body were indelible evidence. She wanted to see how long Bei Yunj could be so arrogant. "Bei Yunj, if you drop out of school and apologize to me, I won't hold you responsible. Otherwise..." Wang Huiying raised her chin proudly. "Otherwise, I won't let Song Yao off." "Miss Wang, have you forgotten?" Bei Yunj sneered and suddenly asked slowly. Wang Huiying frowned and looked at her coldly. A short while later, Bei Yunj walked in front of her and placed his hand on her bandaged hand. He lowered his head and slowly tightened his grip. Wang Huiying's face was pale, but the last sentence made her forget to resist. She only heard Bei Yunj's emotionless question, "Isn't it up to me whether Confederation 191 wants to raise a few dogs in the future?" Wang Huiying suddenly remembered. She heard that the head of the Shi family really hoped that Bei Yunj could inherit Confederation 191 this time. And in the scientific research field, it was customary to pass on talents and not direct descendants. Besides, Wang Huiying didn't even have any bloodline of the Shi family. There was no way she could fight for it openly. Bei Yunj. Wang Huiying's eyes were bloodshot. She wanted to kill this person who was always blocking her. P.S. Good night. Chapter 1390. Principal Xiang. Wang Huiying gritted her teeth. She was so angry that she couldn't hide her emotions. "If you really want to cover up for this person, I have nothing to say. But don't forget, it was Zhang Ke who invited you for 5 years just to get this chance to work together." As soon as she finished speaking, the door of the principal's office was pushed open and another person came in. It was Sun Jiaping. "Principal, I've heard about this." Sun Jiaping didn't look too good. He obviously knew that his granddaughter was injured. Seeing this, the principal had a headache. "Professor Sun, don't worry. I'll definitely give you an explanation. I didn't come to you for this." Sun Jiaping said calmly, "My Jingjing never lies." Jingjing said that K University students cheated. I think she didn't make it up. What nonsense are you talking about? Wang Huiying was inexplicably flustered, but she quickly covered it up. She sneered and asked, Professor Sun, are you using this method to slander K University? Professor Wang should know very well whether it's slander or not. Sun Jiaping wasn't as modest as usual. Instead, he was so firm as if he was a different person. After all, it was his granddaughter's hand that was stepped on. Sun Jiaping had a good temper, but he wasn't an idiot who would be bullied by others.
You.
Wang Huiying gritted her teeth and glanced at Bei Yunj. The corners of her mouth twitched again. If that's the case, then I didn't do anything wrong. After that, Wang Huiying took out her phone, swiped open an interface, and threw it on the table. After reading it, the principal's face became even more gloomy. Someone anonymously reported that a freshman from the physics department of Yun University had abused a foreign student in school. This incident had become a hot topic. Many people even pointed out that it was the one from the Qin family. Bei Yunj's name was familiar to many experienced netizens. Some people didn't dare to take sides easily. But just 20 minutes ago, K University's official Weibo account accidentally liked this anonymous report. So much so that no one dared to speak up for Bei Yunj. Campus violence. Rich people really don't take crimes seriously. I can testify that someone from Yun University was carried out today. I just happened to see that person being beaten up badly. Why did Yun University accept this kind of person? Yuncheng University, the #1 university in the capital, didn't give any explanation? Confused, 5 people clicked into the hot comments and 4 of them are Qin Yojia's fans. They're really at the point of murdering their mothers. I'm being targeted by flies for the rest of my life. Professor Wang, this report doesn't match up with reality, right? As a teacher, how can you do such a thing that is beneath your standing? Principal Xian Ran questioned furiously. What is the actual situation? Wang Huiying smiled and poured herself a cup of tea. Principal Xiang didn't listen to my advice. He's not satisfied with my advice. If we can't reach an agreement on this matter, doesn't that mean I have no other choice? She walked over to Bei Yunj and asked softly, Bei Yunj, how is it? Do you really think that I can't beat you? Bei Yunj looked into her eyes. Are you trying to destroy me? So what if I am? Wang Huiying narrowed her eyes. She knew that if Bei Yunj continued to develop, it would be a great threat to her. She wanted to take advantage of the fact that Bei Yunj was still weak to eliminate the source of trouble. Then, I don't like to raise a dog that bites people. After Bei Yunj finished speaking, Wang Huiying's eyes darkened. She was about to speak when suddenly, a group of people rushed in from the door. Bei Yunj? Wang Huiying turned around and was even more surprised when she saw who it was. Why was Elder Yin here? Chapter 1391. Elder Yin. Before Wang Huiying could ask, she saw Elder Hu and Elder Ge beside Elder Yin. Although the 3 of them had accompanied her to Yun City this time, they had always avoided meeting the public. Why did they come in person this time? Wang Huiying frowned. It couldn't be because of Wang Guanchen. Elder Yin, Elder Hu, Elder Ge, I didn't expect you to come. Sorry for not coming out to meet you. Principal Xiang's back was almost wet with sweat. He couldn't figure out why the 3 of them, who were like founding fathers in Confederation 191, would come to Yun University in person. This time, it would be useless even if Bei Yunj asked old Master Qin to come. Principal Xiang took a deep breath. He was even more anxious at the thought of Bei Yunj's safety. The outside world had begun to put pressure on Yun University. Now, the 3 leaders of Confederation 191 had come to Yun University in person. Weren't they being attacked from both sides? This time, I'm not here to chat with Principal Xiang. Elder Yin glanced at the name tag on the table and knew the principal's name. In the eyes of others, Elder Yin was impatient and was ready to start trouble with Bei Yunj. Elder Yin, don't worry. She's just a child. Principal Xiang braced himself and tried to persuade him. Seeing this scene, Wang Huiying's eyes showed sarcasm. She was waiting to see Bei Yunj make a fool of herself. What's wrong with the child? What's wrong with you? Are you looking down on young people? Elder Een retorted unhappily. They had come to Yuncheng with untold hardships to find an heir. Was it easy? Were they going to let Bei Yunj off just because she was young? Principal Xiang. Why did he feel that this answer was not on the same page? Before Principal Xiang could speak again, he heard Bei Yunj ask leisurely. You're here. You're quite fast. Principal Xiang turned to look at her. Question mark. At this time, this ancestor was still provoking others? Elder who stroked his beard and walked forward. I'm afraid you'll run away. Principal Xiang. It was over. This time, even old Master Qin couldn't protect her. But unexpectedly, just when Principal Xiang thought that Elder Een was going to scold her seriously and coldly, Elder Yin's face was really stern. Then he went up and snatched Bei Yunj's cup. Tell me about it first. When are you going back with us to hold the succession ceremony? Bei Yunj. Principal Xiang.
What?
What was going on? Elder Een? What do you mean? Wang Huiying was in disbelief. Wasn't the laboratory planning to give up on Bei Yunj? We'll talk about it when we get back to Continent K. Bei Yunj leaned lazily on the sofa and covered her face with an open book. Aren't you being shameless? Elder Een was furious. He had finally found a successor who was more outstanding than Shernani, but this guy was so difficult to deal with that he was not on the same level as Shernani. Principal Xiang had never thought that one day, with his own eyes, he would see with his own eyes that a mysterious and proud research organization like the Confederation 191 would start a chase after her drama in his principal's office. I said I'd consider it, but that doesn't mean I'll accept any mess. Bei Yunj's tone was indifferent. It was only then that Elder Een realized that something was wrong. Yunj, are you angry? But I didn't provoke you recently, did I? I didn't call you in the middle of the night either. Elder Een was about to act pitiful when he was tugged by Elder Go, who gestured for him to look at Wang Huiying beside him. The moment he turned around, his eyes met Wang Huiying's furious gaze. Why was this person here? Chapter 1392. You. Elder Een chose his words carefully. Do you have a conflict with Bei Yunj? Wang Huiying's expression darkened. Elder Een, Bei Yunj accused me of cheating and even slandered our K University and the reputation of Confederation 191. Even my cousin, Wang Guanchen, was injured by her. Shouldn't you uphold justice for me? The principal hurriedly said, I'll apologize to you for Bei Yunj hitting someone, Elder Een, but Yunj isn't a bad person. Who would have thought hearing this? Elder Een laughed loudly. Hey, Principal Xiang, what are you saying? Isn't it normal for children to fight? It's not a big deal. It's fine for boys to get injured. I often got injured when I was young, too. The principal's eyelid twitched. Thank you for your understanding, Elder Een, but now, student Wang Guanchen is already in the hospital. Elder Een and the other two looked at Bei Yunj at the same time. She was indeed not a good person. Although Bei Yunj has indeed gone overboard with this matter, I hope that you can give Bei Yunj a chance. However, I still hope that everyone can give Bei Yunj a chance. I also hope that Professor Wang can clarify things online. Clarify what? Elder Ge, who had been silent, suddenly asked. After the principal finished explaining the whole story, Elder Een and the others also frowned. Huiying, you're too, Elder Een sighed. Forget it. Explain this matter clearly, and let's forget about it. Wang Huiying was unwilling to give up. Elder Een, my younger brother is still in the hospital. How can we let it go like this? Elder Ge said coldly, if you dare to hit someone, you have to be prepared to be hit. The atmosphere was inexplicably strange. Elder Een and Elder, who were speechless. Could he rein in his impulse to brag a little? It was too obvious that he was biased towards Bei Yunj. Wang Huiying bit her lip. I won't let this matter rest. Neither will K University. Elder Een was silent for a moment. Huiying, are you going against us? Elder Een nodded. Then think carefully. After leaving Confederation 191, what is left of your Wang family? Elder Een, why did you choose her? Wang Huiying couldn't stand the questioning. At this moment, as outsiders, the principal and Sun Jiaping wished they could run away immediately so that they wouldn't hear anything they shouldn't hear. Elder Yin also asked Wang Huiying to follow him to another meeting room. In the Confederation 191, only talents are passed down. Even Shernani was a genius of 191. Wang Huiying stared at him. But aren't you going to give up on Bei Yunj? That's because she didn't want it. A moment later, Elder Yin continued expressionlessly. Think about it carefully. As long as she wants to be the successor of Confederation 191, no one can shake her. At that time, what kind of position can you hold in Confederate 191? Wang Huiying stopped talking. Also, do you want to talk to K University, or do you want me to talk to them personally? If anything happens to Bei Yunj that has anything to do with K University, our Confederation 191 will not let them off the hook. After Elder Yin finished speaking, he pushed the door open and walked out. Who did K University rely on to survive? Let them think about it carefully. Wang Huiying bit her lip and clenched her fists, trembling all over. She wouldn't let Bei Yunj have an easy time. In the principal's office. Bei Yunj, you broke his bones. Do you think you're civilized? Elder Hu questioned. Bei Yunj replied perfunctorily, yes. Elder Hu, yes? Wang Wanchen went out, and you still found someone to beat him up. You're very domineering. Chapter 1393. Bei Yunj turned to look at him. Do I look like that kind of person? Elder Hu? Question mark. Don't you know that? The atmosphere fell into a strange silence. Bei Yunj's eyelids twitched, and the corners of her lips twitched. She said slowly, the only person who can make me do things behind his back is to find someone to kill him. Elder Hu and Elder Ge. So did she think that this matter was not bad enough? Bei Yunj's ability could bring Confederation 191 back to the peak, but they didn't know how many generations of grudges she would have with her personality. Elder Hu and Elder Ge had already started to persuade the principal not to care about this matter. It was just the children fooling around. However, the principal insisted on waiting for Wang Guanchen's condition before making a decision. A few hours later, Bei Yunj didn't expect to see Wang Guanchen being carried back on a stretcher, and a group of people followed suit. There's no law at all. How dare you hit someone from Confederation 191 in school? Didn't you start first? The person who spoke up for the injustice was pushed away. Get lost. Yun University has to give us an explanation. After saying that, he began to smash the door of Yun University's principal's office with his hand. He didn't intend to give Yunqing University any face at all. He shouted for the principal to open the door. This is outrageous. Elder Yin's face darkened. He suddenly stood up and walked out. Principal Xiang, you can just sit down.
Then,
just as the door of the principal's office was opened, a few aggressive people in front were about to curse, but they didn't expect to meet Elder Yin's eyes in the blink of an eye. Elder Yin, why are you here? Everyone was startled, like a cat with its tail between its legs. Even if they had the guts, they wouldn't dare to act arrogantly in front of Elder Yin. You've got guts? What kind of place is this? How can you behave so atrociously? Elder Yin reprimanded them in a loud voice. He pointed at them and scolded, let me tell you, if this matter gets out of hand, none of you will be able to return to Confederation 191. Elder Yin. At first, they were still hoping that Elder Yin wasn't here to help them. But now, in this situation, those who didn't know better would think that Elder Yin was Bei Yunj's parent. Wang Guanchen, are you sure that Bei Yunj got someone to beat you up outside? Elder Yin asked expressionlessly. On the other hand, Wang Guanchen had mixed feelings throughout the journey. He was even more afraid when he thought about the scene where someone put a sack over his head and beat him up. He would never forget it in his life. I don't know. Wang Guanchen swallowed his saliva with difficulty. Principal Xiang, look, Bei Yunj didn't get anyone to hit him at all. It's all just a joke. Elder Yin glanced at Wang Guanchen and openly defended him in front of everyone. So much so that the people of Confederate 191 were shocked. Elder Yin, you're going to blink when you're kidnapped? The principal's eyelid twitched, and he suddenly looked at Pei Yunj. He had a feeling that Pei Yunj's call was to call Elder Een and the rest. But how did Pei Yunj know Elder Een? Pei Yunj, come here and apologize. Elder Een brought him over. Pei Yunj exclaimed and looked at Wang Guanchen on the stretcher with interest. Wang Guanchen couldn't help but feel his scalp go numb. He wanted to stay away from this person, but then he heard Pei Yunj suddenly laugh. Student Wang, I'm sorry. There's still a long way to go. Instantly, there was silence. Was this really an apology and not an open threat? Elder Een took a deep breath. Do you know what you did wrong? I made a mistake that every good person would make. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.